All right, guys, so let's get rolling. I want to welcome everybody in the room for coming out and welcome everybody online. I really can't see who is online because I've got my back to the screen. I've got a screen over here, but I don't want to keep rubbernecking over to the other screen. So anyway, welcome everybody online and welcome everybody to the room. So this is actually session 3 and session 4 that we're going to cover today. Hopefully, you guys were on Monday, which I think was the introductory sessions to Ignite. So hopefully everybody was able to attend that because that segues into and there's a flow to the program. So hopefully you guys who are in attendance today were there on Monday as well to capture that information that introduction to the Ignite program. This is the first time that I've been asked to do these 2 specific sessions. So it's a little bit more difficult because, I didn't have a great deal of time to prepare to be able to bring you the most amount of value, which is one of the topics that we're going to talk in session 4. It's all about creating value in your real estate, in your business, so that you can convey that value or put that value to work for your clients, so that they can appreciate what you do to your fullest extent, and it makes your job a whole lot easier when you know what you're doing. You've got the value that you convey to your clients, that your business will grow organically. That you help continue to do business with you, and of course pass your name on to the people that are interested in doing referrals. Throughout the years, I come to realize that almost 90%, a little over 90% of what I do is repeat referral business. So I don't go looking for a lot of new business in my business model. It's just because I try very hard to create the extra value for the clients that just they recognize. So what the Ignite program is trying to groom and get you to understand your own realtor value. And part of that in the first session in the Ignite, session 3 that we're going to cover is connecting with your market. And that's being able to know your market to the extent that people really identify you as the real estate professional. Okay. And when you know your market, they have confidence in you. They want to call on you to be that real estate resource. And you become a lot of other things, known as that real estate specialist. Sometimes people just call on you because they're a homeowner. They like, listen, I know you're in the real estate business and you deal with people all the time. Do you know somebody that can come over and fix my dishwasher, or fix my plumbing or electrical issue, or anything? We've been overwhelmed with some of the things that have to require so you do become that resource for people to follow on, and that is kind of part of your value proposition. So we'll get into dealing with connecting with your market. All right, so somebody want to share, by the way, who attended Monday's session? Yeah. All right, good. Everybody's on board with this program. Sometimes you get people that, I couldn't make it Monday, and now I can't make it next week or whatever, but it's good that everybody started. So does you guys want to share a little bit about, what you got out of the first 2 sessions?
Well, one of the things was to commit to yourself, try and create your own business, know your strengths and weaknesses. Whatever you put into it is what you get out.
Right on. Okay, so that's kind of an aha moment, because you'll find throughout the whole Ignite course, we're going to stop and just kind of put your ahas, which is something that you're like, wow, that really sunk in and that means something to me. Now I've got to get that. So that was your aha. So, what about somebody else?
That was mindset.
Mindset, yeah, that's a big thing in real estate.
I think because 60 used to be one way.
A little hard to change your ways.
So we're raised to, stay inside your lane, don't be thrown outside the box, do what's safe, draw a steady paycheck, grow up, make money. It's like, all right, do that.
Right on.
Now what? So now the mindset for me is, if they can do it, what can I?
Yeah.
Right? It's looking at it that it's not a car salesman. It's not that sales mentality. And the question is, why did I even want to do this? And it's 2 weeks. One, I wanted something to do with that time when I was five. And second was I loved the way I felt when I got my first home. And I would love to be able to help people experience that, right? So for me, it's, but now I have to change that mindset I was raised with that, you know, you stay home.
Yeah, it can't be that passive in real estate if you want to grow your business and succeed, because, you know, people that kind of wait for business to come to them and see, instead of being proactive and go to business. Yeah, you're going to be losing out on an awful lot of opportunities, becoming more of a secret agent and what people don't know what the real estate business and what you can help them, and more that you share what you know and offer your services to people, obviously, the bigger your business will be and the more successful you'll be. Right, a lot of competition as well. That's the thing. We've got about 2,200 agents in the Halifax area now, so lots of competition, and there's some very aggressive agents out there looking for their part of the market. So if you're not in your part of the market, you have to mind.
The other good thing that was talked about, and you brought it up, was it's too easy to take the day off.
Yeah,
But when you're working for yourself, right? So you have to have like some kind of routine and stuff where you're staying involved all the time.
yeah. Sometimes you just have to be accountable to yourself. Sometimes we let that lapse. I mean, you know, it's too easy to wake up in the morning without a plan and say, yeah, maybe tomorrow, right? So you get out what you put in, right? And so if you, sometimes people need to be on a team for accountability. Some people have coaches to be accountable to. Some people have accountability partners. So, you know, we always recommend. I know some of the newer agents that came in with them years ago. They help each other accountable. We're going to do this. And we're going to do this together. So, you know, we're both going to make sure that we're getting out of bed and we're reporting it every morning. That way, you know, it's kind of that a couple of days left and then we get ahead of the day. Let's hear from somebody online. Somebody want to share what they experienced on Monday, what they brought out of those two sessions. And I'll speak at once. Big Shot, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Actually, I didn't attend the Monday session.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I guess you got a good excuse. You probably didn't have internet connection. Who knows? Anybody else on Monday? If not, we'll move on. Okay, so we're going to move on to connecting with our market. All right, so a real estate expert is about knowing your market and connecting your market in unique and more consistent ways. Right, one of the things that you should adopt in your vocabulary is consistency. Right? The more consistent you are with studying your market, keeping up on the market changes overall, whether they be micro or macro, which are the bigger and smaller issues affecting your market, you should keep up on them. So I'm in the habit of every morning getting up and checking my command pipeline, and then I'll have my coffee first thing in the morning. I check my command pipeline and my tasks for the day, and then look at all those filters. Right, that's the first two things that I generally do for business in the morning. That way, it just gets me in business and mindset for one thing, and it also keeps me up to date with what's going on out in the market. And that's part of what you should all be doing every day is kind of keeping up with the market, so that when clients ask you, hey, you know, how's the real estate industry going in the States? You're not just sitting there, well, I'll get back to you. I think we should have something sensible to share with them, specifically about what's going on in the market. People love to talk real estate, so people will bait you into real estate conversations a lot. So can't go to the grocery store if somebody knows you're in real estate talking to people about, you know, housing. Right? You never know who your next need is going to be specifically. On a macro level, you'll know what's going on in the city or the metro area that you live in. We all live in cities. The little townships outside of Halifax. I mean, we use Halifax, and a lot of the agents are participating in Halifax specifically, but you know what's going on in other townships around. And this is one of those things that I talk about, staying in your lane. Had a conversation last night with somebody, a mentor that's outside of Halifax. And he said, I'm not comfortable putting my name on a contract outside of Halifax that far. Right, so you put my name on the approach agreement, helping someone buy in an area that I don't know, you shouldn't be selling it. Right, but if you put yourself at risk and go and sell in an area like that, you might want to bring it over to right, because I know that that's too far reaching, and I don't know what's happening in that marketplace that could affect the buyer in a negative way. How am I going to protect them from things that I don't know whether I should know? Right, we don't know. And going venturing into another marketplace that I'm not familiar with, obviously I'm putting the buyer at risk, right? Participating in transactions outside of your area of specialty. Unfortunately, you're putting your buyer at risk, you're putting yourself at risk, putting the brokerage at risk, the liability. Something that could happen that you weren't aware of that would affect these clients, and because you were outside of your area of expertise. So you want to be known, and I think this is really the focus of this particular unit. You want to be focusing in on an area that you've seen as the market specialist or expert. And there's a lot of exercises that you can do in understanding of your market when it comes to the influencing factors. Right? What does affect real estate in this particular area? What are your market stats? How is it reported? And that's what this particular unit is all about. So you really should know, if you go in for an appointment to develop a buyer, one of the first things that I teach my mentees and my team is when it's down to the buyer. There's two calls that you need to make first. One to the real estate agent, obviously because you have to be meeting, and two, you have to get approval. From there, I then start talking with the market climate before I get into the buying process. And the reason why I talk with the market climate is they have to understand what this process is going to entail and what the nature of this particular market is. Because if you don't understand what's going on, you're going to be at a disadvantage when it gets ready to put pen and paper on an offer and secure a house and know what the right guidance for that client would be. When it comes to the value, right? Projected value. Should I buy now? Should I wait? What should I do? Right? If I wait, are things going to get better? Are they going to get worse? So understanding your market specifically are going to help guide your clients through those questions. Okay, so I'm going to move the slide along here and just kind of give you the overview of what we're into. Aaron, slide's not running.
Hello, Chad. Sorry to interrupt you. Still, we are all facing the same issue with the voice.
With my voice?
Yeah, it's breaking. If you can unmute your microphone, is it possible or?
I've already tried that. I can give it a go again. I'm not even sure why this slideshow is not working anymore either, so bear with me. A little bit of the technical difficulties here.
Chad, your voice got a lot more clear as you turned to the computer there.
Yeah.
So you think that the speaker is at this actual computer? You figure that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's much better right now.
Much better. Yeah.
So this microphone is obviously not the one that I'm supposed to be using.
Yeah, here it is better. Yeah. You can.
All right. Well, we'll push back.
Yeah.
Now, all right. So that's better. I should have like a lazy boy over the phone and drink. Anybody got something? Anyway, I have to move this thing along. This PowerPoint slide is not cooperating with me. We did a test run before we got online and it's not. I said, listen, I'm not an IT guy. I just need to know I got to push this button or that button. And so we tried it and it's not working. It seems to be frozen. So anybody able to run to grab Aaron for a quick second? There you go. Sorry, guys. It's been that kind of a morning for some reason with this stuff. Okay. By the way, did everybody grab the course manuals?
Yeah.
Everybody got a copy of it here on the box? Good, so that we can all follow along with the flow of things here. So the PowerPoint presentation isn't in that for some reason.
Okay. Are you using it on here or is it on yours?
It's supposed to be.
Can I jump in there?
Yes.
Mouse?
Yeah.
Oh.
This computer, Aaron?
Interesting.
Right. Move.
Where do you want to be?
I want to be home in bed.
Can't help you with that one.
All right, it doesn't matter. All I need to do is be able to advance the slideshow here. All right, so this is where we're headed now, is type of market, so. So if I go backwards. No backwards,
Should.
no forward, no reverse.
You're gonna click with the mouse.
All right, so we're clicking with a mouse. So forward,
Well, yeah.
so. So if I left, right, so how do I get backwards now?
If you have to go backwards, you'll have to use that.
Oh,
Don't go
really?
backwards.
Just don't get ahead of myself. All right, there we go. We're gonna start there, guys. Sorry. I think we're back online. So, okay, so, connecting with your market, it's gonna be a little bit of a statistics talk, at this point. We're moving on to, again, when I sit down and I present to a buyer or a seller, I talk about the market climate, like what's happening out there. And being able to identify what type of market that you're in is going to influence the way you direct and guide your clients through whatever transaction they're doing, whether it's selling or buying. So you have to identify the type of market that you're in. So it's no secret, but what kind of market are we in right now?
Seller's market.
We're in a seller's market. At what point will it become a buyer's market?
When there's more inventory available.
6 months.
Yeah, it becomes more of a buyer's market when we've hit a saturation point of listings versus a market demand, more sellers than buyers, right? Then it's reversed, it's inverted. And then, of course, the most healthy market that is out there is a balanced market. That's when the government gets to kind of relax a little bit and not focus so much on what do we do with interest rates? How do we cool off certain market points? Is because a balanced market is I love a balanced market because I'll tell you, it brings out a different person, right? Seller's market makes buyers really ugly. A buyer's market really pisses off the sellers because they can't get their house sold and get the kind of money that they're hoping for. Right. So you have to identify with the type of market that you're actually in. Us being in a seller's market, it's you have to have really good aggressive strategies in place for your buyers to actually get a house, let alone, be able to get one at a good price. Right. Because in a seller's market, buyers are paying much more for houses, inflation costs are going up. So how do you decipher? How do you know when you're in a buyer's market or a seller's market or a balanced market?
Isn't the level of inventory?
Correct. Yeah, it's how many houses are available, right? And it's you look at it and it's based on the months of inventory. How many months or how much time will it take to satisfy the market demands? So you have to look at what's called the absorption rate, right? How many houses are we losing every month versus the supply? When it comes to a healthy, balanced market, how many months of inventory should we realistically have? Okay, rule of thumb is 6. I think I heard Brenda Kilbertowski say she had some teachings in the past where 5 was the magic number, right? 5. And she did make a good point. If you have 6 months of inventory, it almost feels like more of a buyer's market at that point, right? 5 months is healthy. 5 to 6 months, yes, that's considered a good balanced market. There's enough inventory to satisfy the needs of the majority of buyers. When there's less than 5 months of inventory or less than 6 months of inventory, then you're considered to be in a seller's market. And so how do you define 3 months of inventory? What does that actually mean? Or 2 months of inventory?
That they've actually been listed for that period of time.
Not quite.
Okay.
They're selling quickly.
Yeah. But when it means to have 2.5 months of inventory, what does that actually mean?
I guess there must be a number that defines what month of inventory is. It's a number that defines that.
So it deals with if there were no more, it's based on the amount of sales. So it's if there's no more listings that hit the market, how long is it going to be based on historic sales, like monthly sales, the absorption rate? How many houses get absorbed from the market every month? So how many, if we had no more listings come on the market today, how long would it be until we completely depleted the inventory?
Right, so
Right.
2 months and then they're all
So
gone.
2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months, you know you're in a seller's market when you only have 3 months, 4 months of inventory. Worse yet, we actually went into a situation where we had like 3 weeks of inventory over the last 3 years. 3 weeks of inventory.
Wow.
That's when you're getting 12 and 15 offers for every house. Okay, and so you know you are in a seller's market when you have that little inventory, right? Because the supply or the demand way performs the supply. The balanced market is that 6 month sweet spot, 5 to 7 months. You're probably in more of a balanced market where buyers have choice. They're able to negotiate a little bit of the price off with the sellers and things. So there's a little bit more of negotiations that are happening. And when you hit a buyer's market, it means that you have a surplus of inventory. And we hit this back in 2013 to 2016. We had a buyer's market. And so that means if no more houses were listed or properties were listed for sale, it would take 7-8 months to deplete based on the absorption rate. Buyers buying properties at a certain rate, it would take 7-8 months to finally deplete the inventory. I've heard places in markets across Canada in different times where they had over a year's worth of inventory. I mean, is anybody from like the Digby County area, Nova Scotia? I'll tell you, Digby County probably had 2 years of inventory.
Wow.
No kidding. It was such an underperforming market. Our daughter was down there working for 18 months, and there's real estate signs everywhere for sale and nothing selling. Right now, COVID turned that upside down because even Digby was outselling the market. So, all right. So, understanding the type of market you're in, that way you can guide your clients accordingly. You can guide your sellers to be more aggressive on prices. Different marketing strategies for buyers, right? Specifically for buyers, what kind of strategies can you impose right now to be able to get your buyers into a house, right? How do you compete in a seller's market when you're working with buyers? Like what advantages can you give your buyers to get houses over above everybody else other than, highest price wins? Are there any techniques that anybody's invoking to be able to represent their buyers and get their offers accepted before everybody else?
Writing clean up.
Writing a clean offer is definitely one of them, right? And what?
financing in place.
Yeah, get people pre-approved, yeah, having the very first, second phone call out of the way, call your mortgage specialist and get pre-approved. Right? You know, and the difference between pre-approval and pre-qualification is a big thing. Right? There's a difference there, so be mindful of that when you're coaching your buyers. Yeah, for me, I did a session yesterday, and I apologize, I felt like I was a speed reader and an auctioneer. I mean, it literally was a 2 hour, it was supposed to be, the content should have been a 2 hour thing, and I had to compress it into an hour, right?
So good.
It was like blah, 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 and I didn't give a lot of people a lot of opportunity to ask questions. We didn't really get into the details of what the discovery of that information really means when it comes to interpreting it to the client, so we weren't able to do that. Perhaps we'll do a repeat of that. Hope Janice is not listening because she'll hold me to it. But doing that work ahead of time, I found doing offers for my clients, doing all that work ahead of time, I could convey with confidence to the seller's agent that we're coming in with our eyes open here. There's no surprises. I have covered it from A to Z the best I can, and I have eliminated a lot of the escape risks for a transaction. Right, a buyer gets in there and then all of a sudden they start finding out things that they don't like about a property, then that puts the seller at risk, because if they end up terminating and pulling out, all of a sudden that leaves a footprint with other buyers that are like, why did that fall? Especially if it fell twice, right? And that's the worst thing you can do to a seller by accepting an offer that eventually falls and goes back to the market, is all of a sudden people lose confidence in the property. What happened there? And you'll notice good agents will put it on even the realtor remarks, the previous transaction fell due to buyer financing.
Are
Right?
you allowed to do that?
I don't know, but yeah, but I've seen it on a number of occasions. It's the technique that I used going into negotiations. I did not ask for property disclosure statements. I attached the property disclosure statement to the offer with my buyer, who I reviewed it with ahead of time, got them to sign it ahead of time, accepting and understanding the nature of the conveyance of the information from the seller to my buyer. And so that wasn't a condition of sale anymore. It has to be attached to the offer because, well, it's important for all warranties and representations to survive the closing. And if it's not part of the transaction, then it's harder to enforce that being a warranty from the seller to the buyer, because, hey, I didn't supply that to you, right? This was outside of the parameters of the agreement, right? And so you're able to clean up things a little bit more when you are in a seller's market, coming in by doing your due diligence and preparing your client ahead of time for what they're about to encounter, which is fierce competition in housing. If you're going to win this accepted offer, we really need to invoke good, strong strategies of being able to get your offer accepted. And there's different ways and techniques that you can do. And definitely, Travis, I saw him on the chat, Travis Mesher. As a listing agent, we just went through a time of multiple offers. We had a lot of offers on a property, and every one of them, whoever submitted an offer without a finance letter from their financial institution, I got back to them and said, it would help your case greatly if you sent me a letter of pre-approval from their lender saying, we have assessed them as a good prospect for financing. And so that lowers the risks for my seller, but it also increases your buyer's position, or fortifies your buyer's position when you're making offers, and that letter of pre-approval is accompanying your offer to give the seller confidence that if I accept your offer, there's little chance that your financing is going to be declined, or that we'll lose the deal because of a finance reason. Okay. So that's kind of the strategies. You have to understand buyers, sellers, and balanced markets. Just because it affects pricing, and it affects your approach and strategies to helping those particular clients understand and be prepared for that process. Okay. Looking at your stats as well. Right. I got to use my advanced thing. Oops. Inventory. We got to go back. All right.
Chad,
Right.
Excuse me. Yeah, Chad. It's Iris. Sorry, I have sore throat, so maybe you difficult to hear me. Just wonder because I will have a listing, potential listing, maybe in the coming months. But I know probably it's not a hot listing. So I just wonder, I guess, because I just pop in and saw the PPT, and you say the type of market and the balance market, the seller's market and seller's market. I just wonder the months of the inventory. Does it mean the months like a listing is not sold and keeps in the market, like 7 months or 5 months?
So you have to determine, you know, go onto your MLS system and that's definitely the greatest source, I think, of market information. And so where I just forward the slide onto the inventory,
Yeah.
you have to look at supply and demand. And I look at February as a great month where you have very little competition, right? There's buyers that didn't buy a property last year. There's new buyers that came into the market this year, which is putting more demand on the supply. And if the supply is down because there aren't a lot of houses in the market the month of February, then that is going to be an advantage to your seller, because without competition, you stand to get a better price, better terms and conditions for your property, right? And
Yeah.
people ask, is February a bad time to list a house? No. I mean, you asked Derwin and Lindsay, they put a house on the market, and as of yesterday, I got an update saying they had like 38 offers on that property in Sackville. This is during the biggest snowstorm in what, 9 years? Right? So not a bad time to sell a house. Why? Because, well, one, their pricing strategy and understanding the market. Did the same thing with 88 Chapel Street over in Dartmouth. We had an insane amount of offers on that one too, sold way over asking. But that's an indication of the strength of the market, what type of market that you're in, right? So many buyers, so few houses, and everybody is out there competing. What is the inventory of your market? You should be aware of that. When you are talking to clients, they want to know, like, what is available in my marketplace. And so one of the things that I try and convey to anybody that's listening is it's very difficult to be an area specialist for all of HRM, right? One of the things years ago that I personally conveyed and confessed, my market is my database of people. In my database, my command database, there's like 1,200 or 1,300 people in there that I keep in contact with. Problem is, that's my farming area. That's where I get business. It's out of my database of people, right? I'm at a bit of disadvantage because my people can take me anywhere in HRM, right? I don't have a geographic farm area that I really have focused on. And so if you think of a marketplace, think of the agent that has dominance in that marketplace. And the reason they have dominance is because they know that market. That's what they focus on. I mean, if you look at some of the people here in Keller Williams, right? I know the agents who focus on Lake Echo, Porter's Lake area. I can tell you the names of those agents because that's where they focus their business. Prospect. I mean, Allison Godsell's blowing it up down there. That's where I live, and I'm watching her putting sold signs on Prospect all the time because she's really come to know that market, knowing the needs of her market and understanding what's happening specifically in that market. Jerry and Annette Murphy, they're Fall River experts. They have been for as long as I've known them in real estate. They know that in that market better than anybody. Okay, and so when you become an area specialist, you should know, one, what type of market are we in to be able to guide those people? Two, the inventory. So when you're looking at the inventory in that market, what does that mean? If it's depleted, what types of homes are available? What are the types of buyers that are going to be buying into that market? You really have to know that, especially when you're helping establish pricing, whether it be for a buyer or a seller. Inventory is great because then, of course, that's selection for buyers. If inventory is low, well, then, of course, there's less selection, and you have to maybe start compromising on what you're going to get in a house. right? I didn't want a fixer upper, but in my price range, I guess I'm gonna have to look at that. Because I have no other options. All the other houses that are fixed up and move-in condition are above my price point, right? So that does change some things. The average number of days that a house stays on the market, why is that important to anybody? Why is it important to know how many days on the market a house has been?
Yeah, it's
Whether it's
Yeah.
seller's market, buyer's market.
It's an indication of the strength of the market. What else?
Yeah,
what
yeah.
else tell people?
Tells you how strong the absorption.
Yeah, but specifically for a house or a number of houses, right? You have to look at it maybe in both ways, the individual case by case situation or the overall market, right? And so, how does
Yeah.
how does market time affect price? Okay, the shorter house is on the market or the market performs, that's usually going to be an indication that the prices are on the rise, like things are selling fast.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I can't hear, and maybe there's anybody else like talking.
Go ahead, Iris.
Yeah, I mean, I saw actually, it depends, as you said, it depends on the area. You're gonna do some analysis for your sellers. But I saw a lot of listings on the market more than half year, like 6 months. Some are like over 100 days. So I'm just thinking about like if it is not very hot listing, and the seller asked me like how long you think my house will be sold. I probably gonna say the average time. So I'm just a little bit confused about you say, for example, like 5 months of the inventory is balanced market. I maybe I was wrong. Maybe there's a misunderstanding. So if you give them the rough idea of like how long your house will be in the market, if you give them about like 5 months, they won't be confident about the sale. You know what I mean? But it almost depends on the area. But it's like I don't believe like any seller will be confident about such long time their houses will be in the market. This is just my question.
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from with that, and that's your ability to interpret the market. It's understanding the market as a real estate professional, understanding what type of market you're in, right? We talked about
Yeah.
that, understanding, the supply and the inventory that currently exists. If you are going to be listing your house and you've got 15 other houses like yours in the neighborhood that are for sale, well, you have to know the inventory, right? What differentiates your house from all those others?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when it comes down to market, number of days, average days in the market, how do you change that for a seller? How do you
How
change
do
average days on the market for a seller? The obvious one.
Yeah.
Change the price.
Yeah.
Right? So I use market time as an index. So you have to qualify the needs of your seller.
Mhm.
Okay? I don't like working with sellers like, I don't have to sell. So if it sells, it sells. It doesn't, it doesn't. That's a hard
Yeah.
pass. That's a hard pass for me. Right? I don't want listings
Yes.
like that. I don't try markets. I don't spend 4 or 5 months aggravating over a listing that I know I don't have confidence that I can sell. It's just that anomaly that if it sells, wow, why did it sell? I don't know, but what lucky me that I didn't have to carry it for 5 months. So
Yeah, this is my point.
Something's going to be on the market a long time. So I help a seller to say, here's the average time on the market for your community, right?
Mhm.
Yes. About a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, I was assessing the market, and there was, wow, I'm surprised to see houses are now on the market for like 30 days where they were selling over the weekend for the last 2 or 3 years. So the average number of days on the market, if I'm looking at it and saying, well, it's encroaching now on 30 days. That is a lot longer than traditional. So when you price your property, you have to look at, well, if I price it with the median price or the average price, then it'll likely sell in that time frame, right? If we price it in the median price, which is where most buyers are spending money on houses like yours, right? So it's the median price is like 460 to 485. That's where most of the buyers are buying. It's not necessarily average, but that's where the most sales transpire in that price range. Okay, I look at those and say, okay, the average market time is 30 days. Well, how do we correct that? We can add time by adding money, asking price. Okay, we're going to put it on by 5% higher than the average market sales price. But when we do that, do you think that will shorten or lengthen the listing time? It'll likely push the market time longer than 30 days, right? If you price it less than the average market price, do you think that'll speed up or lengthen the market time for that listing, right? It'll speed it up. You'll sell it faster. And so you have to qualify the needs of your seller, right? You have time to go the distance. Well, no, not really, right? How do
Yeah,
you
I
know,
think-
I've had clients in pressure situations. I got to get out of here in 6 months because I got to be in Vancouver, or sorry, 6 weeks. I got to be in Vancouver and I don't want to leave my house vacant when I'm on the other side of Canada.
Yeah.
Okay, all of a sudden asking for a price reduction is a very easy thing and they're going to give it to you because if we don't get this house sold soon, we're gonna face a different problems here. So knowing your average days on market helps you to be able to guide your clients, either buyers or sellers. Because if a house has been on the market for 80 days and it usually takes a month to sell, what's the buyer thinking?
yeah,
There is something wrong with the property, maybe.
And what I generally talk to my sellers and my buyers about is, well, usually there's nothing wrong but price. They get the price wrong. They're just too over aggressive on the price, and buyers are coming and saying, like assessing you as agents, they want to see the value in you and they'll pay you for that value. But a buyer comes along and assesses it and said, well, this property falls short in value here. Doesn't measure up to the price. The value doesn't equal the price, and therefore it's a no, it's a pass for us, and they move on, right? And so making sure that you have that in mind when you're pricing. The average price of a home in your neighborhood, if somebody asks you, you should be able to know, right? What's the average price? Because they're like, wow, if that's the average price, my house is a little above average, I might be interested in selling, right? You never know where the next deal is going to come from.
Hello, Chad. I have one question regarding that one. Like, I want to share one thing with you. So what we are facing here means when the seller reduce the price after a couple of months, then the buyers here are thinking now there is a negotiating position. We can negotiate more.
Yeah.
Because because that means the buyer is asking too much. Now they can reduce the price more.
The
They
seller's
put
asking.
more. No, the buyer. They said the seller is already reduced the price. So that means there is the position we can negotiate more price.
Possibly, but maybe not, right?
Maybe.
So it's a frequent question. You know, when you're running around with buyers and all of a sudden the seller reduces the price, the buyer's like, okay, now we're going to offer them $15,000 less than that or $20,000 less than that. It
Yeah.
usually doesn't work that way. Only
Okay.
because if yes, 2 to 3 weeks after they've reduced the price and it still hasn't sold, well, guess what? Then the motivation of the buyer or seller may be increased. But how do they know if that they have to give up the $15,000 or $20,000 to sell it to you, your buyer, if they haven't had enough market exposure to tell them that the price is right or wrong when they've reduced it?
Okay. Okay.
And
Makes
so,
sense.
if they've reduced the price and 2 weeks later it's still on the market, okay, well, other buyers are also saying, I'm still not measuring up. Value doesn't equal price here. It's a pass for us, and they move on. That's when you can go in and look at negotiating. But it's no different than you putting your house on the market, because it is like renewing your listing, putting your house on the market and seeing how the buying market responds to it. Right? You put your house on the market. Do you accept the first offer the first day? I wouldn't. I generally don't. I don't advise my clients to. And that's, you know, do you accept the preemptive offer? Oh, well, we have 20 other booked showings, but if you accept that offer, it's preemptive, you're gonna drive everybody else away. We don't know what their value will be for your property. So when you go to the market, I generally say to my sellers, you'll know within the first 3 weeks for sure. 2 weeks, you're gonna get a strong indication, but 3 weeks down the road, it is time to take action on price, right? We have to sit down and we have to consider what kind of activity are we getting, if anything. We have to sit down and assess, what kind of feedback are we getting? You know, we've had 12 qualified buyers through, not one offer. What are they saying? Okay, we have to review that. And then at that particular time, I say we have to do damage control on the price. We put a little bit too aggressive on price. And I'll be honest with you, if you don't know your market, you're going to have your sellers push you around on price always. Right? 28 years, one of the things that I say specifically is the most important thing to get right is price. If you don't get price right, no matter what you do, you will not sell it. You could have the best marketing plan in the world. The house you could eat off the floors, it's so beautiful, but if the price is wrong, people will still pass on it, right? And then there's damage control that you have to do after the fact. And if you wait too long to do the correction on price, it's too late. The seller's going to lose money, right? 3 weeks is the maximum time you should wait to revisit price with the seller to roll it back. But once you roll it back, you then have to expose it back to the market. The market then has to come in and decide, does value match the price? And if it does, great, you're going to get an offer and sell it. If it doesn't, they're going to pass, and then you're going to have to reduce the price. But it's trying to get the price right from the beginning. Because if you don't get the price right from the beginning, then people are going to be like, oh man, this has been on the market a long time. And then your offers come in very low. Like, what's the motivation of the seller at this point? Maybe they're highly motivated. Maybe the property's empty. It's costing them money and stress and lot. Maybe they just want to dump the property. And then instead of getting good, reasonable offers, you get lowball offers. And that frustrates you, frustrates the seller. And it could be the deterioration of your relationship, all because the price wasn't right from the beginning. And that maybe was because you didn't know your market well enough to put the accurate price on it, the pricing strategy. Laura?
How do you handle somebody who refuses to reduce the price?
You're talking to the right guy.
Yeah, maybe you are talking to the right guy. So
What do you do if you have accepted one of those sellers?
yeah, so I bite the bullet. If I make a commitment to a client, no, if I make a commitment to anybody, I uphold my commitments, right? So the worst thing you can do is give somebody a commitment and then let them down, right? If you agree to take an overpriced listing, that's on you. You still put 110% into it. If you don't, shame on you. You've given your commitment and you've agreed to something. You give your word, you stand behind it. You have to prepare a seller specifically in a market where if they're too ambitious on price and you cannot prove it. I mean, the market's made a fool of us, right? There was no CMAs for 2.5 years. There just weren't. We're just throwing out a price and then buyers are just coming by and just saying, here is a truckload of money. Will you take my offer, right? There was no skill to pricing, but now the skill is coming back. In a balanced market, I'm going to tell you something that will sharpen your pencil. In a balanced market, you will have to get it right because your seller is going to watch other sellers sell and they're going to sit there stagnant and they're going to wonder what's going on, right? So effective pricing, understanding the market, why pricing is so important based on market conditions, right? For me personally, I pass on that, right? Do what you want to do, take your listings. There is an advantage to taking over price listings if you don't want to do business with the neighbors, right? You want to take the listing as an overpriced listing because guess what? People are going to call you. They're going to say, hey, can I see this property? Can I ask you questions? Oh, by the way, are you working with a real estate agent? If not, hey, let's talk about working together, finding a suitable property. So all of a sudden, you're going to be honest with the seller and say, I'm going to use your house as a lure for buyers. I'm going to convert those buyers because they're going to pass on your house. It's going to be overpriced. And I'm going to take them down the street and they're going to find the value matching the price down there. And I'm going to help them buy it because I have your overpriced listing. It's going to benefit me than it will you. I'm telling you, I want you to win with me. This has got to be a winning thing. I'm still going to benefit even though you won't sell your house, right? That's one approach. I don't agree with that. I don't do that personally. For me, one of the things when I assess the market and the seller is too ambitious with price, On my marketing presentation, on my meeting with sellers, I tell them specifically, hey, guys, I've been in this a long time and I've come to realize far too many agents will take any listing at any price and any terms and conditions. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people. I'm an investor of time and money, and I'm qualifying you and your property as a good investment or not a good investment. I'm gonna dump about $1,200 in the first 2 weeks of marketing and listing your property. Plus, I'm gonna spend maybe 3 months marketing this property with my time, doing open houses, where I feel this is gonna result in zero return to me other than a great big headache and a disappointed seller. If we can't get together on price, I'm sorry, but I'm not the right guy for the job. Not to say that you won't get it, because there's a better agent out there than me that can get that kind of price, and that's the person you need to interview and call for the job. And I will graciously thank them for the opportunity and bow out. I don't want that kind of business in my life, because again, I don't want my sign being replaced with another real estate agent sign who is gonna bring it to the market at a better price, because it happens all the time. I love being the second agent in, by the way, every time.
I have
Did
a
you get
quick question. So in that case, like if you talk to them beforehand and say, look, here's what I think. But if you do decide to take one as a client at the price that they're hoping for, how long do you wait before you then discuss, like, we need to make the change?
I set expectations. One of the things that I tell everybody when it comes to contract to close is pay attention to that section and Ignite, and it's about setting expectations. And I set expectations as often as I can with everybody. Like if I'm going in to meet with a seller, I will set up the expectations that, okay, here's the thing. So I'm going after this today to list a house in Lakeside. And I agreed to list this within my 5% threshold, right? Because I can't say I'm perfect at pricing because there's so many subjective things to price, right? Knowing the difference between objective and subjective values. People place subjective values based on their own personal feelings and their own needs, right? And then sometimes the emotion takes over and they pay more for something than somebody else would. Logistical thinkers, they're like calculators, oh, no, it's actually worth this. And the other person's like, I gotta have it here. Here's $10,000 more for it, right? Because that's that subjective value. Somebody's like, yeah, this doesn't work that well because it doesn't sink to them emotionally, whereas somebody is just like, gotta have it and I'll pay whatever I gotta pay to get it. And so that's the hard part. So I have a 5% variance on my pricing generally. If I come down and I give a price on a property where I think it's most likely to sell, and the seller pushes me up in price to give all these reasons why they feel the price is much nicer than anything that's ever sold, I will go up by 5% if I feel like it's warranted. If I have confidence by 5%, but that's my cutoff. And so when I took the original meeting with the people that I'm listing the house for today, they wanted 7% higher than what I found the market value to be. And I said, no. I had another agent that I was competing with who was willing to list it for that and charge them 4%. Okay, so I said, I get it. If you want to go with that, for me, it doesn't matter. They could charge you 15% because they're just not going to sell the house. It doesn't matter, right? The commission is irrelevant at that point. Until it sells, they don't get paid. It's not going to sell, so it doesn't matter what rate they're charging. So for me, sorry, but I'm checking out after this price, right? Go with them, see how it goes. Call me back in 3 months when it's time to replace the sign, right? And so that's the importance, right? The importance of effective pricing. And I will, after consulting with the seller, I will tell them specifically, we'll revisit. This is the top end of the price range. You're not going to get any more than that. If you do, it will be with another agent. Much better than I am giving you that kind of price. So better for you to go with them, right? Because I'm not going to be able to achieve that for you. So I bow out, somebody else comes in. However, if they go with the upper end of my price, the expectation is we are going to, in every case, we are going to assess this house in 3 weeks. We're going to come back and we're going to meet. And we're going to talk about, hey, what just happened over the last 3 weeks, good or bad? If we are that close to getting offers, maybe a small reduction in price is going to trigger the offer. Maybe a $5,000 reduction in price. What that signifies to me, when somebody reduces the price, and this is going back to Dick Schatz's question about, well, if they reduce the price, Then do you come in and can you negotiate price off that? Normally not right away, later on, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, okay. We've had 4 other showings, no offers, so I guess we're gonna have to start listening to what buyers value our house with, or for, you know, how much money.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you, Jared.
But when you look at reducing the price, what you have to understand is you're going back kind of as a new listing, but it's now going to be, for me, it's, if we correct the price, I've listed it 5% higher than I feel normally comfortable in doing, but that's my threshold. It's the maximum. And now at the three-week mark, we have to look at what do we have to change here in the formula, right? And I say there's 4 things to that formula when I list properties, right? The marketing strategy is on me. I really got to put a bang-up job, the best presentation for your house. You have to have the house show and look the best it can possibly look. You have to pay the right amount of real estate commissions to incentivize the realtors to want to sell your house. That's an important thing. And that ties into the value proposition that we're going to get into later. But none of that matters. Your house could show well, eat off the floors, bang on marketing plan, spent thousands and thousands of dollars and efforts on all of that. You're paying 5% commission on the sale of your house. But guess what? None of that matters if you don't get the price right? So now we have to sit down and we have to evaluate price based on what's going on here in the market. Where did we miss the mark? How do we fix this formula and get a buyer to the table, right? Knowing your market very well and conveying that to the seller, being the specialist, conveying that to the seller, is going to help you win listings and price it properly, right? And so that's what this particular unit is all about. Okay, and again, once you assess inventory, based on the inventory, days on market, what kind of market do you feel you're in? Make that judgment call and guide your buyers and sellers accordingly. All right, so we're going to move on. Okay. Look outside the box. What else if influences our marketplace? Okay. You should have, everybody in the real estate business should have an alliance with other service providers. Lawyers, mortgage specialists, inspectors, insurance agents, whomever, to be able to support your business, to support your clients. All right, so make contacts with lenders specifically in your area and stay up to date on your market, answer any questions your clients may have about the process. Now, when it comes to interest rates and lending, how does that factor in? Take right now, for instance, what's the buzz in the mortgage industry right now? What's the big buzz? Right, interest rates are coming down. All right, so if you don't know that, you're not in tune with what's happening for lending, then I guess maybe you're not able to guide your clients to say, hey, you might want to hold off listing. Maybe you want to hold off volume, right? Maybe you look at a longer closing date. If you find the house now, we're able to negotiate the longer closing date. Maybe by then the interest rates will come down and you'll get the preferred interest rate. How would that affect your decision to buy this house? Right? You can afford it. The monthly payments are going to be a little bit less, right? So that does, bringing that kind of information and value to your clients is going to be highly appreciated by your clients, right? Having a relationship with a lender. I mean, are you guys getting emails from lenders with updates? Right? Most people are in the real estate industry that have a license. I know I get them often. I've got 3 people that I've allowed. And by the way, always ask for permission to sell your client or send your client stuff, right? Nothing more annoys me when there's somebody I don't know sending me something that I didn't have, right? That's kind of the rule of thumb out there. So I have 3 lenders that I've given permission, and they're all from different, they have different niche markets that they deal with. So I hear from you and I hear from you and I hear from you because you have different resources. I don't want to hear from the same 2 people that sell the same product. It's duplicate for me now. You're saying the same thing he did. I don't need to do that twice. I want to hear from you who have a different package. So case in point, get to know your lenders and form relationships, make contacts. I booked in, James, you weren't there. I booked in a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, the only time that we could go and meet with the branch manager and a mortgage specialist. I booked the appointment for my team and the people that I mentor. Unfortunately, it was during NSAR day, right? That's the only time they could allocate that time in the afternoon for the branch manager to come in and sit with us with one of their mortgage specialists at the Credit Union Atlantic. Why the Credit Union Atlantic? Because they have the ability to lend. Their lending policies are different outside of the regulation of the big banks. And so we wanted to know what differentiates you from the rest of the lenders that we get to know about, that we could pass along to our clients to say, you have a specific need that we know credit union offers that nobody else does. i.e. cashback mortgages, no down payment. We're like, whoa, I thought no down payment was gone in 2009. Yeah, it's still there, but you got to talk to credit union to get it, right? Mobile homes, you got a specific need. Anybody does mobile homes, okay, you need to know who lends on mobile homes. There's only two lenders I know in the market, right? Credit union being one, and yeah, RBC's the other, right? They're the only two people that I know that are offering chattel mortgages on mobile homes. So how do interest rates and lenders affect the market, right? They put the interest rates up, it stalled our market effective of July 1st, 2022. It was like somebody slammed the brakes on the car. Halt the market, nothing going on. Because they jacked up the interest rates and said, okay, you're not getting the message here, buying public, stop overspending on houses. And so we told you we were going to put up the interest rate, so we finally did. And then, man, they put a 3/4 of an inch of a interest rate hike all at once, and that was in June of 2022, and it forever changed our market. Thankfully, that created the shift that was overdue since 2019. Okay, so does anybody have any comments on interest rates and lenders, on how that might impact your local economy and why you should know about those things to be able to convey that to your clients? Anybody have anything else to offer on that? Some people do have a finance background, by the way, that carry real estate license, so I'll throw it out to you guys if you want to add something to it. No, all good? Okay, economic factors. You should know about that. Okay? How about you guys tell me how some economic factors can affect real estate? What driving economic factors will affect real estate?
Employment.
Yeah, first line up there, yeah. Employment and unemployment.
Right, if we got a lot of unemployed people in your market, then obviously we're not gonna be looking at buying a home.
Okay, anybody live up around the Canso area? Anybody from Antigonish to like or Hawkesbury? What happened when Stora Enso went out of business?
Yeah.
Or like the foreign buyer ban is also the one of the factor.
100%. Yep, yep, they needed to do that. Foreign buyer ban.
Development going on in various neighborhoods, like.
Yeah, government spending. How about the shipbuilding contract? Did that help?
Yeah.
That's a big one, right? Import exports, those kind of things. They definitely, if Halifax wins a new shipping contract, wow, that's going to put a lot of like longshoremen make decent money.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, economic factors, like what is the employment and unemployment rate for your market? Not only, I mean, people need a place to live, but for me personally, I've experienced this more as a consideration for people who aren't looking for long-term housing and a place to live and raise their family, because that's a long-term thing. If you can find a house, no matter what market it is, if that's what you're looking for and that's the priority, to set roots and raise a family in a good quality subdivision, then great. You can buy it anytime, regardless of what the economy is, as long as you have personal job security and so on. But for me, it's working with the investment properties. That's the biggest thing, because where's the source of your developments, right? Where's your source of your buyers? Where's the source of your tenants? Okay, I've had a guy about 5 years ago that I was working with, not as a fellow real estate agent, wanting to sell like a 12-unit building in New Glasgow. Like, well, what do you know about New Glasgow? Right? Why are you looking to help an investor buy in New Glasgow? Right? What do you know about the economic factors that are affecting your investor's decision to spend $500,000 or $600,000 on this building. Other than, hey, you just want to help somebody buy an investment property. But is it right? Are you considering the economic factors? By the way, would you consider yourself an area expert in New Glasgow? I certainly wouldn't. Okay, so what do you know? What's one of the biggest influencing factors, or was, in the New Glasgow market?
It was.
One of them, yeah, when they shut down the mines. I don't know, Sydney, Cape Breton is a glace bag, right? A lot of mining up there that got shut down. What happened to all those folks? Sydney Steel Mill, what happened to those folks? Abercrombie Pulp and Paper, shut it down. The biggest employer in that area, shut down.
But there's a correction center now.
Yeah. Right? You could harbor fugitives. I got 12 units available. House arrest. I don't know, there's a marketing angle there somewhere. So those are the kind of things that you have to understand, right? You can't just look at a house and say, hey, do you want to buy it? You got to consider so many things. There's so much that you should have in your tickle trunk of knowledge to help guide your clients, whether they're buying or selling, to make better decisions. So these are the things that influence those kind of decisions for your clients and the resource that you need to be. How many workers are entering or exiting the workforce in your market? Is it transient? Right? Do you have a transient workforce? Right? Sorry?
Military is big.
Big economic driver, right? It was sad when, and unfortunately, they had to tighten up government spending quite a long time ago, but there was a moratorium on military relocation. I mean, anybody do any business in Eastern Passage? If that isn't the hotspot for military transfers, I don't know what is. Now, the more affordable price ranges, Timberley, Sackville, Eastern Passage seem to be the military places, unless you're a higher ranking officer than your luxury of being maybe in Colby Village or one of those places. But, you know, that's a driving factor. When they put a moratorium on military transfers, there was a lot of agents who just relied on a lot of military relocation to support their businesses, right? Part of the reason why I like to be more diversified, and I don't want to talk to you about not being an area specialist. You should be a specialist because it's like a general practitioner and a cardiac surgeon. Who do you want to do your open heart surgery, right? So the area specialist is valued more and they're willing to pay you more, right? But for me specifically, I don't like it because there are agents that just focused on military relocation. That is the bread and butter of their business. And when that moratorium hit, they had to reinvent their business. I don't like that. I like diversity myself. I like to be able to do new construction, and when new construction slumps, I'm in the resale condos and you know, resale homes. And if this area slumps, and no offense, but I'll tell you, in 2012, I would not have wanted to trade my book of business with anybody out in Fall River. I'm going to tell you something. The agents who were listing in Fall River around 2012 were probably getting screamed at on a daily basis. Why is my house not selling? Totally saturated with listing, nothing moving, all high-end real estate. And it was sitting and sitting and sitting. Go back to your market stats and watch what happened in 2012. The biggest headache every day waking up was to try and satisfy your sellers if you had a big listing inventory back then in Fall River. Crazy. But if all your eggs are all in one basket, you're going down with that market, right? That's how I looked at it. However, right, you might, you know, ebbs and flows in every market. Fall River is very good to the listing agents out there, by the way. So yeah, you got to take some of the bad with the good. The growth rate of your community, that's a big thing. West Bedford, the #1 performing real estate market in Canada for a while. That's saying something, right? Right now, who knows where the next high performing market is or will be?
You mean in here in HRM or just anywhere?
Well, anywhere, you know, pick your spot, but
Toronto's getting pretty crazy.
yeah, you're in the right direction. Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance,
Oh, yeah, there's,
those agents, they better make room for their money in the bank, right? So those agents are going to do extremely well because that is now going to be the next highest performing market, probably east of Toronto. There are tens of thousands of real estate units being built and planning to be built in that area.
Why is that again? I've started, I forget.
There's a number of different factors that affect that. One, high density areas. People don't want high density, right? That's why we had such migration from Toronto to here. You know, that's a growing community. Everybody wanted to be in Halifax. We weren't ready, but you're not. Here we come, right? But we got people living in the hotels now in tents, unfortunately.
Oftentimes lower tax rates.
Yeah, well, development services, you know, maybe I've heard East Tench Development Services for a long time were much easier to work with, where there was an edge on, maybe they were understaffed, overworked at Halifax. Things were taking a long time, a lot more red tape. They were more relaxed up there and giving approvals as opposed to Halifax. There are different things, area tax rates are lower up there than they are here, so your property taxes are more. Land is less expensive because it's further out of the urban center. All of those things affect why people are migrating that way, right? There's a number of different reasons. Availability is the biggest thing. Affordability, right? You can get a brand new, and this is where I'm trying to talk to some of our buyers right now. They're getting discouraged right now in this market. Like the last showings I had Ashley do over the weekend, she's my showing specialist. She said, Chad, the buyers just went away kind of hanging their heads, feeling very discouraged and defeated by this market. Again, they went in and they just, nothing's to the right fit. They have a spending budget with this, a healthy spending budget, but they can't find anything that's reasonable to buy for that kind of money in their perception. The value isn't matching what they're looking for, right? Maybe they have to adjust their expectations, but I don't think they're being unreasonable to expect a certain level of quality or home for the type of money they're willing to spend on. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't we check out the Enfield, Elmsdale area? You can get a brand new house for that, but you got to be willing to commute back to Halifax, right? Because their jobs are here. If you did not, we helped a buyer move up there, sold his condo in Halifax and moved him up to Elmsdale because they said, get ahead of the curve, invest in Elmsdale, because when you do, you'll thank me 3 years from now, 4 years from now. You look at what all the neighbors are selling for and you're like, whoa, Chad, you really nailed it.
There's a lot of inventory in like Timberley area right now too, because the golf course is building like 200 or 300 new homes. Beach builder building 700. But the problem there is you're looking at $900,000.
Right, so you're going up to the area of affordability, and that's where the growth rate of the community, and there's gonna skyrocket up in the Elmsdale, Enfield, Lance area. We're talking tens of thousands of residential units. Right, that's gonna change that community forever, right? So hold on, guys up there, because you're in for a bit of a ride. Has the government made any changes to the rules, regulations that might affect the housing market? To Shat's point, I know a lot of the Indian agents that we have in our company. I mentor a number of them. I've got Indian agents on my team, and I'm constantly being asked about the foreign buyer ban, right? Somebody on work permit, can they buy here? Somebody who's on student visa, can I buy here? Right? Permanent resident, yeah, you're a shoe-in. Canadian citizens, obviously, you're a shoe-in. But they're changing a lot of these things that are affecting our market, right? So government has the impact of swinging things one way or another. And we're talking from a federal level, but we can also talk about from a provincial and municipal level, right? All of a sudden, maybe not rules and regulations, but maybe the mandate. I mean, when they mandated that they were going to double the population of Nova Scotia, holy smokes, what that did for the housing market, right? Hold on, because, you know, there's going to be a housing shortage. If you've got properties, might be the time to start buying into having properties, because back when things were happening in 2020, when things were really starting to change, it's like, I'm nervous about paying this kind of money. Do you think if I ever sold my house down the road, I'll get this kind of money back? That was the number one question when buyers were like, I got to pay $100,000 over asking. My question back to them was, do you think the population of this world will shrink?
No.
Right? We're slated to go to 14 billion people in our lifetime, 14 billion. We need houses for. You think when there's that much demand on housing, the price will go down? Well, we know it won't, right? All right, so economic factors, you have to take that into consideration when you're out there guiding people on making decisions. For me, our buyers decided, yeah, they listened to us and they ended up buying a brand new townhouse up in one of the new developments in Elmsdale, right? They're getting ahead of it. So knowing the economic factors that eventually will reward that particular person, they're going to be thankful for that, right? But it's knowing the economic factors, the why. that's gonna happen. They're getting ahead of the curve. That's kind of like, principle of value, investment value, anticipation, that kind of thing.
Chad, they also extended for next 2 years the foreign buyer ban.
Sorry?
They extended the foreign buyer ban to next 2 years until beginning of 2027.
Well, again, I don't disagree because it's keeping people out of the residential housing market that shouldn't be here to begin with. Right?
Yep.
These are real estate speculators that are trying to make money off of us. Right? They're buying now to sell higher two years from now. You know, sometimes if you look at what's happening in Vancouver and Toronto, they're jacking up the resale values of homes. Right? They're letting them sit vacant because they know they're buying now in 2 years to sell to make $100,000 profit or a $200,000 profit, right? And they're creating a housing shortage for that reason. They have a vacant home, and the reason why they put a vacant home tax in Vancouver was because, whoa, wait a minute now, we need houses for people to live in. You can't just buy a house and let it sit empty because, you know, you're going to make $200,000 later on. But this is why the foreign buyer ban came into effect. Foreign buyers are still allowed to invest in real estate, anything over 3 units. They can go ahead and buy because they know at that point you're falling into an investment category. We want investors to come in and dump their money from China and India and the Philippines or England or wherever you're coming from with your money, right? But you're not taking housing away from people who are already here that need it, right? And driving up the rates as well, or the inflation. All right. So other market factors, okay? Assessing what is available in the community to support the residents. What increases value or enjoyment, right? Hey, buy here. I know you've got 3 kids. There's a community center going up just around the corner. Would that be of any interest to you? Hey, how did you know that? I didn't hear about that. This is news to me. That's what they're looking for. That's what your clients need for value from you. You know your market, and I didn't know that was going to be the case because we were thinking maybe we should, you know, maybe go with the Sackville and live out there because there's more amenities. But if the amenities are coming to us, what about the aging population of Nova Scotia? 50% of our population is over 60 now. That's a lot of people that are old. All right.
But they're potential sellers,
But-
right?
Right. But what do they want to do? Look at number 2 on the board here. What do they need? Right. Bringing healthcare facilities to a community is a big thing. My parents themselves, they live in a small community called Tatamagouche, is on the North Shore. They've lived up there for 25 years. And now my mother is thinking, time to be a little bit closer. So they want to move to Truro. Why? Because the Truro Hospital has bigger facilities. They saved her life one time, right? And so that's why she wants to be closer because they're not getting any younger. Parents are on the doorstep and at 80 years old. So guess what? They want to know that if something happens, they're within minutes of you know, saving my life or, you know, not having to drive. I mean, their family doctor was in New Glasgow, right? Driving Tatamagouche to New Glasgow for my mom's doctor's appointment, just unacceptable. Or down in Halifax, Dr. McDonald down in Bears Road. Mom was coming from Tatamagouche to Bears Road, right? If you could bring the healthcare facilities closer. Bayers Lake just built a new outpatient facility. Laura said state of the art. She went there and said amazing. She had her blood work done there a couple of weeks or last week. She said amazing facility. That is now on the doorstep of our community, right? Timberley, Prospect, Herring Cove. All of those people don't have to migrate to either the Cobequid Center or downtown Halifax Infirmary, right? So health facilities nearby have an influencing factor on your market, on your buyer's decisions, on your seller's values and decisions, and things that you have to be up on to educate your people about your area. Because when you know about this stuff, you become the expert that they rely on. Okay, and they value more for it. Neighborhood attractions, right? I'd love to have Six Flags here somewhere.
But like Brunello Golf Course, right?
I want to
All
see
kinds of-
Cyril dancing like the old guy.
Oh, yeah, and I would be.
So neighborhood attractions, like what brings people to a specific neighborhood, all right? So there's different amenities that will come. I'm gonna say this, I don't have the money for it, so anybody that has a few $1 million in their back pocket, or maybe knows somebody that does, I would get ahead of the market in the Elmsdale, Lance, Enfield area, and I would be putting up a used car business tomorrow if I could. These people are commuting back to Halifax and they need more than one car and they need a reliable car. Sometimes an affordable car, right? I don't see anybody getting ahead of the curve. I'd have a nice spot, put up a used car sales lot right on the side of the highway, somewhere between maybe Elmsdale and Lance. You'll be a wealthy person someday, guaranteed. 10 years, you have a wealthy future. Anyway, that's bringing the neighborhood amenities and attractions to the people deciding, why should I move there, right? The more, the bigger your community, the bigger your needs, the more the amenities and the attractions will start to develop. Okay, so knowing your market, that's kind of the broad spectrum of what your clients expect you to know or that you should have in different ways. How to decide what kind of market that you're in. Knowing the inventory, and I coach my my agents when they do open houses. One of the things, because I've got an open house workflow. Like when we say we're doing an open house here, boom, there's the workflow that happens, right? The one thing that you need to do the day before you show up on the open house is to study the market, because people are going to come in and they're going to ask you about the sale of the house just down the street. Ange, you mentioned about some house on Slater Street in Dartmouth. Okay, I sold 88 Chapel Street in the north end of Dartmouth, and there's another house on Slater Street that listed apparently over 600 grand. 680, wow, right? So if that agent does an open house on Slater Street, which is just around the corner from Chapel Drive, that agent does an open house, and somebody comes in and makes reference to the house that I just sold at 88 Chapel, and that agent doesn't know about it, are they going to be perceived as an area specialist? How do I know as the client more about your area than me, or than you? Right? You're the area specialist. So it's definitely important for you to know about your inventory and what's going on in your market, how your market is performing. You're the specialist, not them, right? And if you can't show that you know more than them, then they don't need you. You're good as the agent in 2021 that opened the door, fill out the blanks, and that was the extent of your talent, right? So you need to show value. You need to have that resource of information for people. 6:15, is it? Yeah, so, hopefully they get it. But again, case in point, be prepared. One of the workflow requirements for anybody on my team that's doing an open house is you got to know the area, because you're going to be hit with, market stats. Well, I mean, if I was to list my house today, how long do you think it would take to sell? You got to know your average days on market. Well, what's the average house like to sell for in this area, right? Median and average prices. You should know that. There are statistic functions on MLS to be able to guide you through where to get these statistics. Your market center, they call our offices market centers here at KW, different language. But we have information available. The performance of KW, know your KW stats. How does that help you win business, right? We'll get to that in a second. All right. Yeah.
First of all, thanks for that open house thing, but to this weekend.
Yeah, right.
You gave me some homework, but I'm assuming like it seems like it would be a lot easier to know your market when you're talking about listing homes, but when you have buyers, they can take you anywhere, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you are a buyer's agent, you have to be up on, there's a lot of work being a buyer's agent, because they could take you from Eastern Passage to Hubbard's.
Yeah.
Right? Depending on what they're specifically looking for. It's tough to be an area specialist when you're only working with buyers.
I'm dealing with that now, because they want to be within a 45, 50-minute drive of Bedford.
Yeah.
But in any direction.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on. All right, guys, I gotta put you on pause. I gotta run, and I see I've got a low battery warning on my laptop. So before I lose everybody, I gotta run and grab it from my office back there. I'm gonna have a pee break too. So, yeah. So we'll pause. It's been an hour and a half, so we'll pause for 2 minutes and then we'll carry on. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Yeah. And how many of these are No, I'm doing them for other agents.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, I see.
No, I'm just, I see that they're experienced.
Right, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got one in Timberlake, actually.
Oh,
And the others are Bedford. So.
Yeah,
I realized I should do my homework. Yeah.
like you got 3 sections of forward, right? Like east, like side. Yeah. But then you have like
For a house in New York, this is ridiculous. Well, you'd be happy to own a piece of land in Manhattan right now.
Yes, my 18-year-old lives in Manhattan.
Oh,
And she,
geez, free job.
yeah, she doesn't pay her own rent though, that's also a problem. Her apartment, and I use the air quotes, apartment, is 10 feet by 10 feet with no bathroom. And it's 2,000 US a month.
Wow.
And that's only because she's part of the Broadway dance program, so they give them a little bit discount for the arts. If you're coming in off the street, it's 3,200 for a 10 by 10 room with no bathroom. Yeah,
And not really a kitchen. It's just.
no, she has an induction burner, a sink, and a microwave. Yeah,
Oh,
and her counters of it like this.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. Thanks for your patience. We'll get going. All right, so we'll move on. Yeah. Oops. All right, second section, build your expertise. All right. Okay, this is building on your value proposition or the value as a real estate agent. Why do they hire you? You know, why are you worth what they pay you? Building your expertise is one of the things that I focus highly on. It's not for my good looks or personality, I can say that. Yeah, right? Little less like the mountain man. So being known as an area, or as a real estate expert is important to me. It's part of my personal belief system that if you're going to do it, you do it the best that you can. right? It's just ingrained in my learning and my upbringing. So obviously, they're saying there's 4 steps to building expertise as a realtor. Is learn the market. We just talked about that, all the things that affect the market that you have to keep up on, because there's always changes to what's going on out there in real estate. And the more you're up on it, the more you're the resource and the go-to for your client. Learn your clientele. Okay, that's an important thing, right? I think they all have one. Okay, but the second one, learn your clientele. And listen to individuals, what they're specifically talking about when they say listen to individuals, not 100% sure what their message behind that is, but the best way to learn about your clientele is to listen. It's the most effective thing you can do, right? The worst thing you can do is go in there and show off about me. Not Chad McLeod, yourself. You're going in there trying to impress them by what you've done and what you've accomplished. That means a little bit to them, I'm sure. But who do they really want to know about? Themselves. You're there for them, not you. And when you're in there flexing your muscles and how great you are, you're losing sight of the real goal, and that is to be able to gain their trust, their confidence, that you can do what you need to do for them, right? And so learning your clientele is a really important step to satisfying their needs. I couldn't believe it one time when I had a buyer call me just out of the blue, and I'm like, how did you even get my number? I don't even know who the person is. I don't remember what the response was, but they didn't care. They just needed some other agent besides the one that they had. Right? This agent was showing them houses that they didn't want in areas they had no interest in being. Why are you keep showing us houses that we don't want? Right? I don't know if I don't think there was an agenda by trying to upsell them into a higher, more expensive home because of the commission return. I don't think it had anything to do with that. But the buyer finally got frustrated and fired them, right? They didn't know the needs, and they were pushing a different agenda than what the client needed, right? So learn who your clientele is, right? If you're an area specialist, then you've got a lot of bungalows. I mean, you might want to be talking to the aging population, right? You got houses on slabs. Guess what? I should be calling people that might have some physical disabilities, as an option. Right? I know you're tired of looking at houses that have these great big ramps or steps to the front door. Guess what? I've got one that you don't have to worry about any of that. Right? Knowing your clientele and learning who that specific clientele is. Learning your clientele for a specific style of home and a price point. Right? Who's the best match? Because when you sit down and you write your overview for your listing, what are you saying? Who are you talking to? Right? I listed a place over in Kearney, off the Kearney Lake Road. And the sellers kept bragging about the elementary school. Grosvenor Wentworth is the best elementary school in HRM. So I listened to that for a little bit, and then I just said, well, it's great, but I'm not going to mention that in my advertisements. I'm like, what? It's one of the biggest selling features of the area. I said, yeah, but your house is not for a family raising the little kids. It was a 3-story home. It was a story and a half, so a finished basement, main level, and upstairs. But guess what? The bedrooms are all on different levels. 3 bedrooms, but they're all on different levels. Who's going to put their 7 or 8-year-old kid in the basement while they're sleeping on the top level? I'm not talking to the people who are buying the elementary school, buying into the elementary school. I'm talking to somebody else, because you got to know your clientele, right? And so when you're writing the overviews for your properties, who's your audience, right? I personally can't stand rap. I love most music. I can't stand rap. So don't go sending me tickets to a rap concert, because I just ain't going, right? I'm not listening. You're playing to an audience that just isn't there for me. And so when you're writing the overview, cater to the audience, right? Who's the most likely prospective buyer, your target buyer market? Your clientele, when I was doing door knocking up in Beachville Estates, there's 500 doors. I knocked on every one of them. One of the questions that I asked while I was on that doorstep for 30 seconds is, where did you move here from? Why is that important?
You want to see where people are coming from and possibly reach out to that market.
You want to be an area expert? Know where your buyers are coming from. So that's where you go to get them. Right? If I have a listing now in Beachville Estates, I know where I'm going to find my buyer. I'm going to the apartment buildings in Clayton Park, because guess what? I bet you 25% of the residents in Beachville Estates came from an apartment in Clayton Park. And I know that because I knocked on every door and asked them, where'd you move here from? Yeah, came from an apartment in Clayton Park. If you want to be an area expert and somebody comes in and says, hey, Chad, why should I list with you and not the guy that came back and said he would do it for 4%? I said, well, did he tell you where the buyers were going to come from that was going to buy your house? I guarantee you, he wouldn't be able to answer that question. Oh, I'm going to put it on MLS and thank God for Viewpoint. Yes, that's where he's going to find these buyers. But I know where the buyers are coming from for this area. You know how I know? Because I focus on this area. I became an area expert. I'm knowledgeable in this area. And I'm going to tell you, 25% of the buyers that buy into this subdivision come from apartments over in Clayton Park just dying to get out of the rental situation. So what I'm going to do in part of my marketing approach is go and reach out to those people and bait 25% of the buyers qualified for your home from Clayton Park to here. Because I know, I spoke to your neighbors, right? So that gives me an advantage when I'm sitting down to win a listing over somebody else. Right? So know your clientele. It's a really, and know the importance of the matching game, right? 50% of the marriages end in divorce. I guess just a wrong match from the beginning, right? If you look at matching buyers with houses, well, they're the ones that are going to call you back 3 years later and say, yeah, this wasn't the right place for me, right? One of the dangers of overpricing or overpaying for a house, right? Long-term gain, we talked about this. If it's a 20-year thing, don't worry about it. If it's a short-term turnaround, you're going to be very cautious about how much you're spending on a house. Better to talk them out of the house than to help them buy in, right? Because in 3 years, you're going to have to list it and help them sell out, and you're going to have your hands full, right? Listening to individuals, I'm not 100% certain what they specifically mean when they designed that. But again, influencers maybe, right? They can sometimes swing the market. Listen to some of the other resources that you have around you, whether it's mortgage specialists or lawyers or other people that might have some sort of knowledge that you might be able to pass along to your clients. My best guess is what they're talking about, but the key word for me is to listen. Knowing the needs of your clients, right? And kind of tailoring the process to them. Keep the headlines in context. What does that mean?
They can be melodramatic.
Can be melodramatic.
You have one article pop up and tell you that the housing market's in crisis, and then you can have another article come up and tell you housing market's in great shape,
Right?
right?
Yeah. So again, what I explained to you guys this morning, my ritual, I check my pipeline command and task. What am I going to do for today? Like what, just get back into business. I'm waking up, having my coffee, and I'm like, okay, here we go. What's today got for me? So I do my check-in with command, and that kind of keeps me, okay, business now. We're starting to think, oh shit, look at all the snow out there. So I'm going to go and check my command pipeline, and I'm going to look at who needs me today and what do I have to do? What is my workflow for today? Besides that, I check all Nova Scotia. I mentioned that already. I check all Nova Scotia. Why? Right? I bought subscriptions for the team. I want my team to know what's going on in the real estate business. So when I come in, I was like, man, are you jacked? They're talking about 6,000 units in Bedford Common. Did anybody read that? You read that this morning? Their bank properties are trying to get 6,000 residential units. They're trying to change the zoning because it's like commercial industrial out there. And they want to try and satisfy some of the housing needs and change gears. So they want to put 6,000 residential units in Bedford Common. How did I know about that? I read the headline. I read it. I read the headline. I know it's important, I had a big day today. I mean, midnight last night, I'm here trying to polish up because this is the first time I'm teaching this unit, right? So but I get up this morning, the first thing I want to do, I should have been practicing this to be a better job for you, but I need to know what's going on in my real estate world. What is happening that's going to affect anything to do with development and real estate. For me, all Nova Scotia is a really reliable go-to source. Like there's crap in there that I don't read. It's all the gossip stuff and who's suing who, and I don't care about that stuff. I do look at who's suing who, by the way, for bank foreclosures. I always check out who's suing who, because today there was 2 people getting sued, but it was credit card deficiencies. They weren't paying the credit card bills, so the banks are suing them for the difference. I don't care about that, but I do care about when somebody's being foreclosed on. One, it's a sign of the times. Is the renewal dates catching up on people at the high interest rates? Does that have an impact on things? You know, when it comes to lending and interest rates, the renewal date of your mortgage, people are now stressed financially. They overspent in the good times, the interest rates are higher, their monthly payments are higher now on renewal. I'm watching, and I predicted this back in 2020 with my team. I said, guys, you watch what happens in 5 years' time. 1.8% financing on a 5-year term. Are you crazy? What do you think is going to happen in 5 years on renewal? Right? It's good now, and you're overpaying for houses. You're going to get double tapped. When you look at the variable rate, or sorry, the change in the interest rates in 5 years, man, you better be ready to be hit hard. Even me on my rental property, I went from paying $780 a month on my rental property. It's costing me $2,000 to hold that property. I'm losing money every month. $2,000 because of the interest rates, right?
Me too. I did my first variable rate on a rental condo.
Right. Yeah, let's talk about that later because fixed costs and rentals. I didn't listen to myself. Anyway, headlines, going back to the headlines, read past the headlines, right? Don't just get captured in and try and surmise what they said just by breezing over like what it said on the headlines. Get down to the context of the article to see what it's really all about. You just can't form an opinion by reading a headline. Read through it and then investigate it a little bit further if you have to, right? So the 6,000 it's only they're trying to push the city to change and side with them because, hey, we have a housing need. We have 110 acres of land out here. We want to help with the housing need. Yeah, they want to help. It's not going to line their bank accounts, but they want to help. Anyway, but that's the focus, right? If you're not reading the headlines, maybe you're missing out on some important details. And going further to that, being involved in your local social media, okay, in your community social media, getting ahead of some of the community concerns, like what's happening in my community that I should be aware of, right? What are the concerns? What are the voices? What are we excited about? Those are the types of things that you should know about and engage with. And I'm only watching Alison Godso because she's in my marketplace, where I live. I don't pretend to do a lot of business out there, but she's engaged. Like you could ask Alison anything about what's happening, and I'm sure she knows. Right? She knows what's happening, what has happened, and what's about to happen, right? I might call Alison for some advice from time to time. Hey, you're in tune, I'm not. You're the area specialist. I need to get your opinion to weigh in on, right? From one realtor to another, right? And I would rely on her for that.
And a lot of communities have their own Facebook.
They do.
Like the whole
Community Facebook pages are rampant. Yeah. All right. So learn the market. Oh, so they call it LORE. Does anybody hear that acronym before? LORE, language of real estate. All right. We have our own language, by the way, in real estate. So that's when, you know, for when working with clients and customers, one of our functions that we can perform for them is to explain real estate terms and practices. That's one of them, the lore of real estate. We have a language that, you know, the general public may not know. But speaking real estate is an important thing, right? Everybody likes speaking real estate because real estate is a hot topic of interest. Know your business. Notice changes over time in your personal business. Keep track of it. You know, that's what that's basically saying. Every now and again, I like to watch YouTube, and I'll get on to Gordon Ramsay, right? He goes around to different restaurants and businesses that are faulting, right? And he went to this pizza shop somewhere. He said, "Look at the wall, the vanity wall over there. You know, bragging about I was the pizza king in whatever town in 1987." I mean, okay, but things have changed since then. You got to know and learn with the times. Change with the times. But if you don't change and you don't adopt different things and you don't restructure and you don't have perspective on your business, you might lose sight of some key important things to be able to change to address the climate of the market that's happening now or anticipated market changes 6 months to a year from now. If you're not making those changes and you're not getting into perspective on your business, you might be losing out on some really good business opportunities, or you might kind of steer your client wrong, which is the worst thing that you could do. Steer your client wrong because they have utmost trust in you that you know what you're doing, and you steered them wrong. That would be a devastating call for me personally. To feel like I let somebody down and it costs them or whatever, right? I take it very seriously and personally when it comes to that. So learn your market and apply those principles. Okay, learn the clientele. Okay, who are the buyers? Who are the sellers? Does the market benefit your clients one way or the other? Okay, we kind of talked about that already. And does this market put your client at risk? And yes, we all know it does, right? The current market conditions in 2022, May 2022. I've never done any research on it formally, but I would say that was the highest performing month of real estate ever in Halifax. Right? It all went awry back in July. Only 2 months, fast forward 2 months. Everything was like pump the brakes. But May was an amazing month. Insane amount of buyer clients at risk. Why? Because they paid the most amount of money of anybody ever.
Yeah, and then you end up upside down on your mortgage.
Right, we talked about upside down mortgages yesterday, and Janice came to me and said, we gotta do another session on that. I'm being careful what I say during these coaching sessions. I got Janice hovering over me, there's a topic. I'm gonna have a cot in the storage room over there, I sleep in here. So anyway, what puts your clients at risk, okay? It's not a lot of things I look at when I see risk for a seller. What is the risk for a seller? Maybe selling their house, financial risk. Maybe that's kind of it. More of the risk falls on buyers and kind of, you know, what buyers decide when they buy into specific areas, specific price points, style of homes, those kind of things. What puts them at risk? If you notice anything, if you've ever done transactions on unique properties, and there should be a whole course developed on people who sell unique properties. Menno Vandrell, I'd love to bring him back into the real estate business. He's been retired for a lot of years now. He's a Dutch fellow that worked with Roy LePage back in the late 90s when I joined Roy LePage, and he focused on unique properties. I loved it because it was so diverse. He was all over the province. But he was a specialist in unique properties. The thing about unique properties is they're a higher risk, right? You've got something non-conforming that you buy into as a buyer. I just love all this pine wood all through this whole house. My wife would puke going into a house full of pine, right? She's just so ultra modern from Montreal. She's not the country boy I am, because I go and I'm like, oh, this is heaven to me. Now I got to paint all this pine. What? But unique properties put your buyers at risk, because of the majority of buyers, it's the minority of buyers that are buying unique properties. When you find them, they're willing to pay for it, by the way. It's not the cookie cutter style. The cookie cutter is an insulated value for investment. Hey, I'm going to buy the cookie cutter because everybody who's willing to buy them, right? I in a market like Eastern Passage, Timberley, Sackville, Beachville Estates was perfect for me because I love doing a market analysis. I could put you within $500 of your sale price. All the houses were identical, the exact same style, size, configuration, slight layouts. The difference was, did you have hardwood floors or carpet? Did you have this ungodly pink color, or, you know, whatever? So that was the difference. But when you buy something unique, it does put your clients at a higher risk of not being able to recapture the investment that they've made coming in. All right. So enough of me blurting out stuff. What do you think puts your clients at risk? Buyers or sellers? Share with me.
Interest rates.
Yeah, interest rates can definitely put them at risk on renewal. We're seeing it. We're going to continue to see it. What else?
Any home inspections?
So we're talking specifically the market. How does the market itself put your buyers at risk?
Well, if you pay too much, like we said, you could be in an upside down situation in a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay, anybody online? Did we all fall asleep up there, or are you still with me?
There's less inventory right now.
Sorry, Jed, didn't catch your question.
Sorry, go ahead again.
I was just gonna say, there's less inventory right now. It is picking up. If you're telling my buyers, in the next month or so, you should see it.
Right.
So buying right now, they might have, they definitely have less choice, but on the flip side, you might get it for a better price, so
Right.
get less competition.
So what I would say, to piggyback on that, so there's a comment in the room, everybody that may or may not be hearing, from the back of the room, is that, kind of, I look at it and think, okay, what happens if you don't anticipate a market saturation? You're buying now, and then all of a sudden we just saturate the market with new builds. Right? The market itself could put your buyers at risk, and if you don't know, they're like condos, like they're building condo after condo after condo. So when I'm representing buyers in condo purchases, I say, hey, good old Jim Murphy, way back in my pre-licensing days in 1996, Jim Murphy, who's still a practitioner with Royal LePage now, he taught me the golden rule of anything that's limited has more value. It does. Focus on the things that have limited abilities to duplicate. So I look at it. You're on one of the best investment strips there is for condos, in my opinion. Not necessarily across from the sewage treatment plant, mind you, but down the road on Waterfront Drive, Bedford. You cannot duplicate that over and over and over again because there's only a limited amount of water frontage. You want a condo with a beautiful water view and then stroll across to the DeWolf Park and sit on the waterfront? You can't have that up in Clayton Park. So it's a limited supply. So somebody asked me, if I was to buy and invest in a condo, where would it be? Right, Waterfront Drive in Bedford, Regatta Point off Purcell's Cove Road, same little seaside community that you can't have just anywhere. Peninsula of Halifax, they're not making any more land on there, I don't think. So it's very limited to be able to buy real estate in those niche markets because they can't be duplicated over and over again, right? However, you go up to West Bedford and you buy a condo up there in a beautiful building, and then all of a sudden they put another building next to that, another building next to that, another building next to that. What makes your building so unique? What makes it more valuable? They saturate the market over and over by duplicating because there's so much land out there. They can get away with putting 15 more buildings just like yours. So do you think that might put your buyer or your seller's property value at risk? Right? I think so. Right? The saturation of the market and the market putting your property at risk. We have a little lag time here. Okay, listen to individuals, takes the grassroots approach. Learn where your sphere your sphere gets their information and be present. I really like that be present thing. Can't stand it when, if you're going to take the time out to sit here and learn, then, nobody should be texting their buddies about the Super Bowl coming up. Right?
What is it?
Sunday.
Sunday.
What? Gee,
Oh, it's in
What?
January.
you're not reading the headlines,
no.
Carl. You're not reading the headlines.
Second Sunday of February.
All right.
Oh,
I don't know.
So what you guys, what is your interpretation, guys, of taking the grassroots approach?
People face to face.
Yeah.
Genuine interest in.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Genuine interest in them. Getting right down to the reason why. That's my interpretation of it. At least I hope that's what it is. If anybody studied neurolinguistics at all, right? The message behind the message, right? Learning the real reason why. Good, not that it's manipulative, right? I'm not saying this because it's a great way of screwing people over on value of their house to get the right price. But it's a real true reason as to know why. Okay? So it's those layers of questions, okay? You get the superficial answer. Well, we just, we want to downsize and move closer to the city. Okay, I appreciate that. Why is moving closer to the city important to you? Oh, well, and then it comes right down to it. Okay, I've been diagnosed with a terminal illness and I need to be close to the hospital. Grassroots, man, right down to the core of why. Want to be, downsized bungalow closer to the city. Okay, that's the superficial answer. But when you drill right down to it, okay, how important is this move to you now? Right? How important is it to get this formula right at this point in time? Right? Do you want to be here next year fighting to get your house sold? What's the next year going to bring in your future? How important is it? We're a little off on price right now. And I want to tell you, it's important to me to get the price right so that you can move on and be closer to the hospitals. That's important to me. To me, that's getting down to the grassroots of why somebody's doing something. Why do you want to buy there? I have a special needs child. That's why. Get right down to why, right? It makes money for me. That's why. It's a very profitable endeavor. I love money. That's where it is for me. So why are you doing what you're doing? Okay. Learn where your sphere gets their information. Why? Because if you're putting all the information over here, but they're paying attention over here, they're never going to see what you have to say. Right? So that's important. Where is that information coming from? Where are people paying attention? Is it, for me, all Nova Scotia, but is it online in Facebook? Is it, whatever, government agendas and, what's happening at planning and development services announcements, and where are you getting your information? Because I want to know that that's the vehicle that I want to pump my good value messages out to you as the consumer, so that you realize I'm ahead of it, I'm knowing it, and I'm going to enrich your life by passing along such valuable information to you. Being present, right? Again, if you're sitting here to learn, absorb what you can, bring those nuggets. That's why they talk about the ahas. That's the nugget you brought away. That's the one that resonated with me. That's the high impact message that I get to take away, that one thing, right? But you can't pick up on a lot of that stuff if you're not present, right? I personally set the expectation when I am going to invest my time to sit with you and go over the selling strategy, I'd like to have no pets or children in the room, right? My blood boils when somebody does, oh, just a second, so that they can go and coddle the kid that needs their attention, right? They're having a temperature tantrum and whatever. That drives me crazy because I can't hit home the important messages and get my delivery if they're constantly distracted by other things in the room. Okay, when are the kids going to bed? I'll show up shortly after that. I have your full and undivided attention. If not, here's the thing. I'm going to come, we're going to do, it's going to be a fact-finding mission for me. I got to find out, why, the grassroots reasons why you're moving and doing what you're doing. I need to collect data on the house and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go away, I'm going to do the assessment, and then I want you to come to the office so I can lay it all out for you. I don't want to come back to your house anymore. So many of my sellers in the last year and a half, 2 years have come to the office and I've signed the paperwork here. Off site. I don't have to go back to the house anymore. I oohed and awed over it for as long as I needed to. Now you got to come to me, and that's right here at the office. And I signed my seller designated brokerage agreements right here, right? By the way, not bringing the dog into the office. That's a given. And two, if you have somebody to look after the kids, let's schedule a most appropriate time that you have somebody that can look after the kids while you're here, because I need your full and undivided attention when we go through this. This is a big decision for you guys, and we want to get it right. Okay, so be present, and that's the example I could give to that. Okay, yeah, keep the headlines in context. So that's just, paying attention to what's going on in media sources and outlets. Utilizing the apps. Does anybody use any of the KW stuff, mobility? I know Command is a big thing. My platform is running off Command, smart plans and campaigns. And I love looking at my pipeline. I just love it. That's the funnel, right? When I look at my funnel being depleted and I don't have a lot in the cultivation section or, appointments booked, Laura knows February's here. Chad's climbing the walls, right? I don't have, okay, I need more business. I need to be busier. I start stressing like, well, what's this year going to hold if I don't have a lot in the pipeline, blah, blah, blah. And so she knows it. Last couple of nights I've been going home, going to bed grizzly, right? I need the spring market to be here. So who gives me comfort and solace that, hey, I'm busy again. The market is actually going to arrive. Is it going to arrive? It always does. She calms me down, but no. So I use Command to keep perspective on my business, right? I'm not a big, I have people. I mean, that's no secret. I like to hire people. I like to leverage. I like to pay people to do stuff for me. I really do. I want to enjoy the stuff that I enjoy. I don't enjoy learning about, you know, the bolt-ons to IT stuff. Like, that's not my fun, right? I don't get fun out of that. So I don't dive into a lot of the intricacies of command, right? But I have people that I hire that do that for me. So, you know, I don't even know how to DocuSign something.
I can show you.
No, but, you know, I've told the people that I mentor, guys, don't call me for advice on anything to do with administrative stuff. I leverage that all out. I pay somebody to do that for me. I'm gonna sit there and figure out how to go from web forms to DocuSign and how, that's not my department. I pay somebody to do that, so don't ask me questions about that. So I'm weak, and I'm confessing to this to you guys. I'm weak when it comes to utilizing the tools that they give us in the technology here at KW, right? And I pointed on the wall, by the way, because we have, you know, our value proposition very well illustrated on our wall here, right? Culture, education, profit share, agent-centric, the next generation of, you know, the best realtors in town, and technology. I see that as being a great value proposition for Keller Williams person. And I point to technology because Gary Keller did say this is a tech company now, right? It's a tech company. And so we just happen to sell real estate as a butt, right? So there's such a focus on command and technology that we want to be, you know, in the forefront of technology, right? Is anybody using KW apps and technology to enhance their business? Do you know what's available to you? Yeah, command, yeah.
I do. I have a whole page on my phone that is nothing but apps.
Right.
My DocuSign, FinTrack, CNIC, KW, commands, all of them.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I would just have to have some business.
all right, so being interactive with your clients through the KW app is definitely an advantage that you have in the way that you can keep in contact with your clientele. All right, so here it is. This is your database, keeping in control, keeping in touch with your market, knowing your market, who are they, right? Making sure that you do keep a good, healthy database. And this is a health score, by the way. If you see this KW, I'm trying to increase this on my screen, but it's not my screen that's the problem. When you go in and you put in a contact into command, it gives you a health score. And that health score is based on the amount of information that you put into that contact. You know, do you have their telephone number? Do you have their full name? Do you have, where do they actually live? Do they have an address? Do they have a URL for a social media site? Do you have that in there? Do you have a spouse connection? Who's their spouse? Did you link the two together? Because you have to separate two profiles and then link them together to know when I have John Smith, that Betty is over there is his wife, right? And so you can link the two relationships. Do you have that in there? You have notes that you could put in there. What is their job? What is their, you know, do they have any kids? Do they have a pet dog? What are their interests? They love the golf. They love the sail. Okay, when you're speaking to them, you might want to bring in some of those interesting topics. Hey, are you watching the PGA? You know, whatever. Your health score matters because the more ways you have to relate, to reach out, to provide value, command has it all. It's one-stop shopping to be able to interact with your client, right? That's why I've adopted my business plan. I came back 2018 from New Orleans and I hired a team manager right away and said, we are now committed to command. From this point forward, the TriMac home selling team runs only off command. We're ditching everything else. And it's been fantastic. Yeah, the first couple of years were big headaches and growing pains, but once they smoothed everything out, they promised trouble. They did. Break this thing. Go in and use it and break it. They asked us to do that because the more problems you find, the more we get to fix. It's like getting not getting feedback on a listing. If you don't know what's the problem, we can't fix it. And so they said, go break it. And we did. We sure did. But for the first 2 years, it was grueling. But after that, smooth sailing. It's a really fine-tuned machine at this point, and the updates and the improvements are less frequent. They still happen, but they're only there to improve this. And getting into command and using command is absolutely the nucleus of my team, and I would recommend you guys at least explore it, try and get the most out of it. All right, so the KW app, I'm gonna skip that. That's maybe Jen McDonald's on the technology, the ALC technology leader. She's doing a great job that it's in the education, working with Janice and Maureen to be able to get out what we actually have available to us in technology. And I think that's, you know, you guys should be getting, I don't want to spend any time on this today, but you guys should be getting into the technology sessions, understanding what we have available, because it is the advantage and it is the way of the future, unfortunately. Even 80-year-olds are getting into using technology now. I mean, my dad is texting me. I'm like, what? My mom still runs around with a flip phone and she won't give it up. I love my flip phone, and I was making fun of her at Christmas. She's going around with her flip phone taking pictures. And it was like, did you ever see those backgrounds in Zoom? They all blurred out.
Yeah.
The whole picture looked like that from her phone.
Yeah.
It's like, Mom, you might want to get your finger off the lens. Anyway, establishing your business on social media. I am not a social media person. You don't see me ever on social media. Every now and again, I get caught, there's something that pops up that somebody asks me a question, I get baited in. I'm not the kind of person that stands in front of it. Look at me, I'm not, you know, oh, congratulations to my seller. I want to be consistent, and I can't be consistent on social media. I mean, I need help to be able to put out value every day. And I'm not an administrator that's going to sit down and blast out posts. I just won't do it. I don't have time, nor do I have the interest. Social media is an extremely powerful tool in real estate. People that don't know anything about real estate are doing high volume real estate. It's a sad reality. I'm with Brenda. I think I overheard her saying that, you know, she would rather be recognized for what she knows than what she wears.
Brenda King?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that ring a bell with you? Yeah, I think she was heard saying that. Well put together. I mean, when she shows up, she's a pro, right? But she would rather be well known for what she knows than what she wears, right? And social media can do that. That can take on a life of its own. Social media to me has become more of an entertainment. In real estate, it's more of an entertainment business than a real estate business, and I don't appreciate that side of it. Whatever works, I'm not discouraging anybody from exploring social media and doing what you got to do to succeed. Do it the right way. The rule of thumb when you get into social media and connecting with your audience, like 10 posts a day, right? I used to have my 10-minute check-ins. I think it was noon to 12:10. I spent 10 minutes on social media, liking, commenting, sharing, and then I would do it again at 3 o'clock. But I had on my phone, my reminder would come up, social media time, right? I abandoned it. I took it right out of my, because I stopped ignoring it, and then I got sick and tired of this thing telling me I had to get on social media, so I got rid of it. I took it out of my calendar altogether.
Do you
Right.
think people do that too, Jack?
What's that? Yeah, I should. Yeah, I did, and I used to have it. Anyway, write 5 comments a day, right, on social media. Contribute more than you take. That's life lesson for everybody on everything, right? Give more than you take. Write 5 comments a day. Don't look at me, look at me, look at me, and what I've done and who that is not valuable stuff. Engage with people and make them feel special, make them feel valuable. When you do, you form good relationships with people, not superficial relationships. Take a real interest in people. If you're going to actually make those comments, be sincere about it, and to use James's, be genuine with your intent. Okay, and send one direct message every day, right? You don't want to be mixed in with everybody that has a comment on your post. Send a personal message. Hey, just want to sidebar this. This is not something that has to go out to the general public, but I really admire you for whatever reason. Right? You send that message to somebody, man, you're really keying in on a good relationship. That might get home to them, and they'll remember that for weeks, where they won't on the 50 posts of people commenting, yeah, oh, great, look, oh, so beautiful, whatever. If you sidebar it and say, wow, I'm really proud of what you did or what you were able to accomplish, sidebar note. Now, everybody doesn't have to know I just said that to you, right?
No.
You need that kind of validation, whatever.
Sometimes posts are a nightmare.
Yeah, right? So make people feel good about themselves. Make them feel like, yeah, they are absolutely valuable to you, and you'll go a long way in this business, building relationships like that. All right, so we'll do a whole recap, guys, because we got to move on to our value proposition. The type of market that you're in, know it. Okay, list the three types of markets. What are they? Perfect. Buyer, sellers, balance. Inventory. What's the value of knowing the inventory? Yeah, you definitely know what type of market it is. Yeah. Right? How to advise your buyers and sellers. You need to know what's on the market to be able to consider, is that a good property for my client? Is there a lack of inventory? Is there an abundance of inventory? Do we have choice? Right? Knowing how long a property is going to take to sell in a particular area. That's, it's all about pricing, right? It's all about strategy, right? What do we do better to be able to decrease? Because what do sellers want? The highest price with the best terms and conditions with the least amount of, and I don't like the wording that they use, the least amount of problems. I like that word. Challenges, maybe, right? One of the things that I would definitely adopt in your language, if I was, I do in mine as often as I can. We don't deal with problems, we deal with solutions, right? We are solutions oriented. Every time we get into a real estate transaction, we're going to come up with some challenges. Nothing is going to be flawless. There's something that we're going to be challenged with. It's just a matter of finding the best path, the best solution to get through that particular challenge, right? Use that kind of language, it'll go a long way. You start throwing negativity like problems, that stresses people. That instantly would trigger an anxiety in somebody who's already worried about the process, right? If you want to be a fear monger, yeah, you can scare the shit out of anybody and I'll be your savior. Right? Because people will need that validation as an agent. Oh yeah, I'm coming in to save you from all these problems that you're going to run into. If you don't have an agent, you need me. Right?
Client can be different, that realtors are somebody who solves problems that you know exist.
Yeah, right. That's great. Yeah, a realtor solves problems of problems you didn't even know existed. Right? That's great. Other market factors, economic factors, other market factors, knowing what's going to influence something, change it for the better or for worse, right? Know those kind of things. Learn the market. I guess that's really hitting home. That's the summary of today. Know and learn your market. Be that resource that's competent, capable, right? If not, you are not valuable to the public, right? They can find any agent that does what you do. You have to be the special one that stands out to increase your value, your knowledge, and improve their process. And I say their process because too many agents try and own that process. It's not your process to own. Your business to make decisions. I choose to not do business with certain people. I have that luxury. My dad, who was 9 to 5, didn't. You drove the company agenda, you did, and you were out the door. Find another place to work. But I didn't have to choose to work, or I didn't have to work with every buyer and every seller that came my way. It became very liberating when I realized I could fire my client. And I fired 2 clients this year, by the way. Well, end of 2021 or 2023, right? I fired them. I was like, oh, thank God I'm rid of them. I can focus on the people that deserve my time, attention, and experience. Right? Learn the clientele, right? Who are you talking to? What are their needs? Where's that going? Right? Hey, my clientele are all sleepers. They're in their 20-year homes, right? I'm not going to be dealing with them for 20 years down the road. So I better switch and learn my clientele who are the first-time home buyers. I had to recognize that a number of years ago. I came home to Laura in a panic. I was like, holy smokes, I just realized. I went with my first-time home buyers on this whole client for life ride. But I realized I forgot to fill my pipeline with first-time home buyers. I'm running dry. I helped all my people get their first house, and then they bought into their middle-sized second house, and then all of a sudden I was closing big real estate, helping them sell the second house into the 4 and 5 bedroom homes. These were all high-end real estate, and I was like, oh, look at me go. However, I'm not filling the pipeline full of people because these people have bought these houses, and I recognize they're in it for a long time. This is the one they want to stay in. There's no moving up from here. Yeah, maybe they're going to start moving down. But I could see that being at least 10 years out. And I'm like, ooh, we're running into a dead end here, right? I got to start filling the pipeline. So guess what? I got to start talking, first-time home buyer language again. I need to attract and lure some people in, right? So learn the clientele. Listen to individuals, keep the headlines in context, all right? So that's the recap. Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody want to share any ahas about that? Like, is anything that really stood out to you that made any difference to you today about any of that? No impact, good.
Good question, Chad.
Sure.
Going back to the type of market, I'll try to make this quick.
Yeah.
Like, when we're talking about the type of market, that sounds like a very general, generalization.
Yeah.
And for example, I have buyer clients that I'm working with, who have a nice budget, over $1 million. That doesn't necessarily fall into the generalized seller's market right now.
Yeah.
You know, so is it advisable to always know, like, more specifically the market of your clients?
Yes, it is, 100%. You should know the, you know, if you have buyer clients, you should know everything about the markets they're shopping in.
Right. So like when I hear, you know, I know it's a seller's market right now, but the price range they're looking at is not necessarily a seller's market right now.
Yeah.
A lot of houses that they're looking at have been on the market more than 100 days, some 200 days.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. So does MLS have resources that break it down into price range and things like that? I haven't explored.
100% they do. Yeah, you can be very definite on what you're looking for, and you can isolate from everything in the market right down to one bedroom homes or one bedroom condos in Halifax. Right, you can narrow it down right to that if you want to. I do research the old fashioned way. Some of you guys probably saw it yesterday when I was showing you how I do fact finding for houses and stuff. I put a lot of effort and time into it. It's a little bit more exhaustive. I don't do cloud CMAs, not once, not ever, because there's so many inconsistencies with the information. There's so many human errors. Data entry from the administrator point of view, the agent's not doing their job in ensuring accuracy of information and stuff like that, completely throws off my CMA. And this is the difference between being an area specialist and knowing your market and not. I got caught one time relying on the computer to give me my comps, and when I showed up, the seller's like, you didn't even talk about the most important sale that happened like 2 streets over. Like, that's the most comparable home, and you're trying to talk me into this price range when that house over there sold for like $20,000 more than all of them. And my house is the exact same. And that didn't even show up in your market research. Why? Because I let a computer decide for me. That's the last time I ever relied on a computer to decide for me. I then go and do it the old fashioned way. The problem was the agent was too lazy to go in and look at the districts and sub-districts. I was doing this market analysis in Timberley, and they put area 40B, which put it out the property over Prospect, and it didn't even come up on my property search because I was focused on 40A, which is Timberley. They were, you know, they didn't verify it, and it was in 40B, and I felt like a fool leaving there that day. And by the way, I didn't get the listing. Is there any surprise in that? No. All right, so you can boil it down, but be careful, right? You know, there's a little caveat when it comes to relying on some of the information that comes down. Yes, know your market. You know, how many houses in Bedford over that are 15 years and older, over $1 million on the market right now today? Go.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
How many houses over 15 years old that are available in the Bedford market right now today? Over $1 million.
I will pretend.
Well, over and over.
3. You have a client shopping for, one of them is the one that your client is looking for, $1,400,000 or whatever, $1,040,000. Shore Road. Yeah. And there's 2 other houses over $1 million that are resale. All the other ones are brand new construction over in West Bedford. That's it. So if you're shopping for over $1 million house in all of Bedford, do you think the ones on the market are going to get higher values and more likely to sell? There's only 3 of them to choose from.
Right.
Right? You want Bedford, and you've got that kind of price range, you get 3 houses to choose from. Otherwise, you're high density new construction in West Bedford, right? So know your marketplace. Okay, so we'll move on from that if nobody has any other questions. Anybody online have any questions, by the way? You might not have hung in there with me if you're not able to hear the room, but.
No, it's all good, Chad.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So defining your value. You are kind of defining your value by exercising your knowledge in your industry, aren't you? Wouldn't you agree with that? Knowledge in your industry is kind of defining your value for you, right? The more you know, the more value you carry to pass along to your clients. All right. So this is session 4, by the way. We wrapped up session 3 about knowing your market. So this is a big thing, guys, and why Yesterday, I didn't actually get to conclude what I wanted to say, so I felt like a bit of a jackass when I left there yesterday, because unfortunately, I started encroaching on Melissa's time. Melissa is what, she was supposed to do an hour with the OP, right? But again, I had 1 hour to compress, probably 2 hours at least of information, right? And what I really wanted to convey, and after all of that, to be able to summarize, which I really didn't get a chance to hit that home. And I was like, okay, I dare you to go on and see all my listings. And if you find a listing under 2.5% that I've given to the buyer's agent, meant that I charged 5% for every listing. If you go to the MLS system and you look at the new listings that went on the market today, I guarantee you 75% of them are 2% or less. Right? Why am I able to get 5% when I sit down with a seller? By the way, I listed a house for less money than I'm going to this afternoon, listing this house for less money than they were expecting with another agent for a lower commission rate. So it was polar opposite. The agent is listing high and charging less. That is a formula for disaster, if you ask me. Right? They're listing high, which means they're going to take it at any cost, and they're going to bow down to what the seller wants at 4%. I'm going in today to list it for less money for 5%. How did I do that? Somebody who's willing to list it at their price at a lower commission rate. Right, I showed my value to them, okay? Be very careful with statistics, by the way, because when we talked about knowing your market, knowing your clientele, you're in the people business, first and foremost, real estate's the byproduct. Gary Keller says we're in the technology company with byproduct of real estate, and I do believe real estate is the byproduct. It is just what we help people to sell. We're in the people business. So you got to know people more than anybody, right? Or anything, right? Effective communications, personality types, right? Janice, you want an idea for education, bring in Colin back and learn about personality types, right? Great, because that's instrumental. Reading body language. I don't know if that topic came up today, but these particular sellers, when I showed up, I knew their expectation of price was high. I heard it through the grapevine where they were thinking of listing. So I had to diffuse that. And so I said, okay, here's the thing. Where'd you get your price? Okay, I know how much you're thinking about what you want, bottom line in your pocket. Where'd you get that number? Substantiate that for me, please. Ooh, that looks good, right? That's basically what it came down to.
Yeah.
I said, okay, here's what I have to explain to you right out of the gates, knowing the client. Okay, there's 3 ways to evaluate a property. Come to an opinion and conclusion on price. Cost approach, direct comparison approach, and income approach. I said, your house is not an income property, so that excludes that. Direct comparison approach, we all learn the advantages and disadvantages of the direct comparison approach. What makes a good comp? One of the disadvantages, lack of good comparables. And I said, we ran into that with your house. Your house is a little unique. It's a little bit harder to market and find that right buyer for a unique property because it's not mainstream that everybody's looking for. I'm going to show you some of the challenges that we had in selecting good comparables, but there is one really good comparable. It's the same as your house in so many ways. Slight differences, and I'll talk to you about that. So I started talking about that. I said, okay, now we're finished the direct comparison approach, and I showed him my work, my highlights, and all that kind of stuff, and I said, okay, now we're dealing with cost approach. All right, really good information, thanks to Melanie Taylor, because she sold a bunch of houses in the area that were brand new homes. So now I could boil it down, and I was like, okay, the average cost per square foot for these brand new homes, no foundation, no land, right? Because that's the type of homes that were there. Well, lo and behold, mine was on a slab, no full foundations and basement, so very light. What does it cost to replace this 1,500 square foot bungalow? All right, $258 per square foot to $264. There were 4 houses that sold, recent market, good comparables that way. Price per square foot times 1,500 square foot, the average price per square foot. So I think I used $260 a square foot to $262, and it hit exactly the number that the resale home sold for. Well, 515 and 518, 516, 8. 2 different methods showed me a price within $1,600 of each other. Direct comparison approach and cost approach. But I could tell when I was getting into more of the language of real estate, I started reading his body language. His personality type did not like all of that information. He was getting a little uneasy because I was losing him a bit with details. He could absorb some details on a more of a superficial level, but as soon as it became technical, his body language started to change. He was getting flush. He was changing his body position, and I really had to start easing off the facts and really cut to the chase. All right, so bottom line is, buyers are saying in two different ways, this is where the price comes from. Do you like my price? And is it more understandable than the price that we just kind of picked out of the air to say, this is what works for me? Right? If you really want to sell, we've got to start listening to what actually the buyers are saying and actually how much they are paying for houses like yours. Are we on the same page now? That was it, right? I did show my value. I showed that I was confident in ability to be able to come up with a price instead of just picking it out of the air and saying, that's good, I'll list it for you. And what's your price? 4%. I want to make sure I get this listing. Wasn't me. So anyway, at the end of the day, we're signing the listing today, and it's working the right way. Did I define my value with my knowledge and my presentation, my ability? I think so. I got the job. Now it's put my money where my mouth is. All right. So now I have to prove it, but I do have proven results, and I want. And this is the thing about you. What summarizes your value? Like, what is your value proposition? And this is the big highlight of this particular chapter. This is the big thing and why I say, check out my listings, why I get 5%, because I've been able to show value to the clients and they're willing to pay for it. They're willing to pay for it. It drives me nuts when I sign a buyer agency agreement and some people, like I'm mentoring people, and they see a listing, they see what's being paid, and that's what they write down on their BDBA the day that they're making the offer. Really gets to me. Why? Because you didn't sit down with a buyer and go over your value proposition. What are you going to do for them to help them through one of the most important decisions of their life? What instrument are you going to be in that process for them? What value are you bringing to the table so that it's all done right and they have the absolute best results, right? You need to spend time with them. I do not go show houses when a buyer calls and say, hey, Chad, saw this house, will you show it to me? On occasion, I will do that. There is exceptions to every rule. If it's vacant, Barbara Drive, it was vacant. I booked in and I showed it. I didn't really have a full grasp of what this investor had in terms of, but let's deal with a property like that. It's vacant. I'm not imposing on anybody to get out, right? I never kick somebody out of their house to show an unqualified buyer, right? This is homeowners like hopeful that this is the one that's going to sell it. And they're driving around the neighborhood with their cat, their dog, and their 3-year-old in the back seat. Well, all of a sudden I'm bringing somebody that's unqualified to their doorstep, right? So my realtor value is come to the office, CETO, come into the office. And I'm going to have this meeting with you, show everything about the process that you're about to encounter. And I'm going to show you what I know about this process that eventually you're really going to get a firm understanding. By the time I go through the buyer guide that we've created, the custom buyer guide about the buyer process, it shows all the value. It shows all of the areas. It shows the team of people that we surround these people by to support their process. And at the end of the day, they are a bit overwhelmed. And they thought, oh, I thought it was just open the door and fill in the blanks on the offer. Isn't that what you usually do? When you sit down and you show your value, I say, okay, now you understand everything we do. Are you interested in going forward and working together through this process? And by the time I say that, they are dying to sign the paperwork. I'm not kidding. You show your value. You have to be passionate about it. You have to be, they say conviction is convincing. If you really and truly believe in something, you can be very convincing, right? And I do. I believe in this process. I believe in our value as real estate agents. I get that all the time with people that I mentor. Show your value. If all you're doing is opening up doors and writing the filling in blanks, and you're going to get 15 grand to do that, anybody can do that. There's no talent in that.
Doesn't defining your value also make them more comfortable?
100%. 100%. Right.
Fine.
So now you know why you should be conveying the value, because it's more meaningful in the relationship. They will trust you more for sure. 100%. They will trust you more. They will pay you more. Okay. Has anybody charged a buyer to represent them in a transaction? Anybody actually? James, you charged a buyer? Oh, no, you have a question.
Well, no, I was saying, by charging the buyer, you mean putting something in the BDBA?
You signed a BDBA. Who pays the commission ultimately?
So
A BDBA, the responsibility to pay the commission is the buyers. That's says it right there in the contract. They're ultimately responsible for paying you for your service. So the first thing I ask new agents is, what do you charge to help a buyer through the buying process? And often I get, whatever the seller's paying me. No, not the way it works. You define your value, but you have to offer the value, right? You charge a certain number, then the value has to equal that number. Like the value has to match the asking price on a house, right? If buyers come through and they're like, I don't see the value for kind of money you're asking. Same thing when they're interviewing you as an agent. They don't see the value you're offering because, hey, anybody can open up a door and fill in the blanks. What else can you do for me that's beyond that? Because I'm not willing to pay 5% for that. Right? So what do you put on your BDBA when you have your first meeting, haven't even shown a house yet? What do you charge for your buyer process?
I do 2%.
You automatically default to 2%? You do because, sorry, we should qualify what your value is. You gotta look at your, I talked to leadership here at KW about softening because my approach is, I don't care. It's 5% on a listing and 2.5% on the buyer side. I don't care the cost of real estate. Tax the rich, I say, but whatever. They can afford to pay that extra 1% if I'm higher. But for me, I'm going to get you more money. My results are going to be better than the guy that's coming in and saying, yeah, I'll go with your price and charge you 4%. You're going to get more from me. I can guarantee you that, right? But there is a point where you say, okay, 2% of $1 million is 20 grand, right? Who wouldn't work for 20,000 bucks? All right, maybe you soften a little bit. What I can't stand, selling a mobile home for 2%. $165,000, 2%. Sorry, but it's more expensive out there in this real world than to work for that kind of money, right? So, James, your question was what?
My question was, as a new agent trying to figure out where to budget and what to spend money on, having you as a mentor and also speaking to other people in the industry, I'm trying to understand the value of having a good buyer/seller guide to show people. Because that's a really good way to show your value, showing what you do. Would you agree with that? Like, it's a worthwhile investment, it's some money into developing a good buyer guide.
100%, I did.
I know you did.
I shared mine with you.
Actually, he showed me. Yeah.
Okay, you didn't get a copy of it. Okay, my buyer guide is 38 pages long. Right, when I start my buyer meeting, it starts at page 1 and it goes 38 pages later. Okay. It's my flow on my buyer meeting. It is one of those tools of value, right? I didn't do it for me. I did it for the people on my team because I go oftentimes with nothing in hand, right? It's just there, and I can go through my buyer meetings without having that crutch of the buyer guide. But it is something that has a lot of impact and a lot of value, and we get a lot of compliments on it, right? Because I invest in it. It took me 2.5 years to put that together. I think I threw it together because I had a buyer meeting in an hour. No, you do that, you get what the results that what you put in, you get out, right? I put 2.5 years into that. I used 4 sources of information to put that together. CMHC, Guide to Buying, go on their website. If you don't have a buyer guide, use that. That's fantastic. I use probably 30, 40, 50% of the CMHC Guide to Buying, plus their workbook. I adopted a lot of their workbook exercises from the CMHC website into my buyer package, right? I use Richard Robbins. He gave me permission here. I was part of the Richard Robbins coaching program. You can duplicate and use this information. We don't have priority rights over any of this. We give you permission to use it any way you see fit. Thank you. I pirated a lot of stuff from that, right? A couple other things I learned at Exit Realty I put in there, and then my own experiences. Whoa, I invested all of that time. Did I invest money? Yes. I hired a professional digital marketing company to put it all together. I sent them oodles of pages and say, start here. We did probably 8 drafts of it. Send it back to me, read it over, made changes, threw it back at them. They went to work for another week or 2 and they threw it back at me. Yes. What you're doing here is investing in your value proposition. That is an investment in a system that is part of my value proposition, my value to my clients. Like you are here defining your value, right? You need to invest in the time it takes. Who did Brenda's, Janice did this course, I think last year, defining your value. Did anybody online take this, by the way, last year, Ignite, find your value?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you create your value proposition? Okay, that's what you have to learn to do. What is your value proposition?
Which I would change a year later.
What's that? What you're changing a year later? Yeah, because everything does change.
When you're new, you also feel somewhat insecure in what value you're actually providing because you don't feel like an expert on real estate matters. We might be experts from previous lives, careers in customer service and problem solving and creating solutions.
Yeah.
But actual real estate, my biggest hurdle was feeling like I wasn't an expert yet, still not, but needed to provide the value to the client. So I had to find all the other areas where I was an expert
I applaud that.
and bring that up.
Yeah.
right?
All right. So play to your strengths. I tell everyone, everybody that I can influence, play to your strengths. A lot of agents are like, well, I don't have 28 years of experience. So, okay, but play to what you do have, right? We'll talk about that. So your value proposition has to look like this. If it's the same as everyone else's, is that going to matter to your buyers and your sellers, your clients? If it's the exact same, what differentiates you from them? Why don't I just go with them because they, I like them, or they're convenient. They answered the phone the first time I called, right? If everybody's the same, then what does it matter who I use? No, we know that not everybody is the same. You have a unique value proposition. Whatever it is unique, it's different from everybody else. Why do you think Keller Williams have market centers and not offices? Why do you think we have a director of first impression? Why do you think we have a team leader? It differentiates us in our language, our speak of our company. It differentiates us because every other brokerage in town has an office. We have a market center. Whoa, what's that? Same thing as an office, but it's a different language, right? We're just differentiating. We have a uniqueness now about us, right? Something memorable, something that has to have impact. Your message has to resonate and stick with somebody, right? If it's fluff and superficial, it's not gonna sink in. Be persuasive. You have to have some element of persuasion, right? To influence somebody on the decision that they're about to make, on who to use as an agent, right? Why me instead of them? You have to be able to persuade people in that message. Address the specific and special needs of the clients, right? Again, no good speaking to people who are downsizing into, these beautiful executive 5-bedroom homes, right? You got to look at the specific needs and put that into your message and your value proposition when you're talking to the people in your either your sphere of influence or your market's geographic market area, right? Those are the things that you have to incorporate their needs, right? If you are a new construction specialist, right? Why draw buyers out of resale? Are you tired of fixing problems of an aging home? They have a specific need now. I am spending so much money fixing this money pit. Then all of a sudden somebody comes calling about new construction. Wow, that sounds sexy to me, right? Let's go and buy something new and change this, what I've got, to something I'm going to be happier with. So address specific needs of your clientele. States what you will do for the client to earn your commission. I wish they put that in big letters and bolded, right? You need to earn your commission. So many handouts. People are defaulting to doing the least amount of work for the highest rate of pay. Good luck with that, right? Good luck with that. That's why you're seeing real estate commissions drop, by the way, because they don't know their value and they're not contributing to value. If you can't offer the value, then reduce your rate. That's what's happening. I can't, why do you charge 5%? If you don't know your value and your value proposition, then I guess you're just going to have to accept 4, right? Some of the newer agents, they don't understand that they do have tremendous value that they're not defending. They're not conveying that in their messages and their interactions with their clients. And this is what we're here to help you with. Define your value. right? These are the instruments to be able to put that message together, to provoke your thought, okay? Give 2 seconds, guys. Actually, I want to be more interactive. Give me some things that make people unique. Separate one person, one real estate agent for another. Name a characteristic that makes one agent unique over and above anybody else. Yeah, a people person. You have that ability to relate with people very quickly. Right? I lost somebody on my team this year, Scott Lewis. I have never seen somebody be able to instantly build rapport with so many different diversities of people. Instantly. Now he's a drug rep and he got a big paying job and an offer, whatever. So he's off doing that. He's got no time for real estate anymore. I lost a really key player on my team because of that. I have never in my life seen somebody that could instantly relate with people. No matter where we were, he was having long drawn out, meaningful conversations with people. Like he just loved people. And I think they felt that. And he was a very effective communicator, very responsive. So yeah, having that is a unique quality for sure. Right? And I think coming with that is the ability to identify with people and their needs. Because that's one of the biggest things, identifying with people's needs. Right? That might make you unique. By the way, last night when I was prepping for this, I was going through other real estate agents' websites. What did they have to say? And these are influencing people. Mariana Cowan. I wanted to go and see what Mariana Cowan had to say about her value proposition. Sandra Pike, one of the best marketing people in the city for real estate, and herself. Go and look at her value proposition. Amazing. Thomas Bajuglo with Remax. These guys are influencers in real estate. They've done the work. They've been there. They're seeing it, and they're conveying a certain value. What makes them unique that you should work with them? Right? What is so memorable about the message that they just conveyed that I didn't forget it today? Right? What stuck with it? What was so persuasive about their message that that keeps me hanging on there? Right? Let's follow them. Let's maybe engage in a conversation with them. Right? Did they meet my needs specifically somehow? Right? What are my needs? And boy, you really hit home when you have that in there. What are you going to do for me? Okay, one, to earn my commission. It's not just showing up and opening the door and writing the offer. And hold you accountable to higher standards, by the way. Steve Morris from Exit Realty showed me this. When you put it out there, you've all of a sudden committed to it. You're like, whoa, I said it, so now I guess I have to do it. When you have that value statement out there to the public, you got to put your money where your mouth is. Right? Steve Morris taught me that a long time ago. He's the founder and CEO of Exit Realty. He got on stage and said, boys and girls, you guys are going to hold me accountable because I am going to announce this publicly at our convention. So there was 3,000 people in the room, plus everybody online. By this time next year, I vow. And he was struggling with weight loss issues. He's on planes, he's in boardrooms, he's never got time for physical fitness. He's always at dinner receptions, and he's got lunches with people, and there's food everywhere, and a very docile type of living with no physical activity. So he vowed to change that in front of everybody. This time next year, I will stand on this stage, and I will. And he confessed that to everybody. He said, now you get to hold me accountable, because next year I know that I have to do what I said because I'm the leader of this company. If I don't do it, I don't expect you to. Right? I'm setting the standard in leadership, and you need to hold me accountable. And once he did that, he was set. He needed to walk on that stage that time next year and achieve his goal. Right? And that's your value proposition, to keep you accountable to a high standard.
So did he?
Oh yeah, he sure did. All right, so that's when you're creating it, okay? Gary Keller, I don't know if it comes to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Top agents can easily explain what services they will provide to anybody who hires them. Right? I have a hard time with this. I don't have my own value proposition written out. Teaching this course, and I have to thank the gals who baited me into doing this, because this allows me to learn things about me. It allows me to sharpen my skills and my tools and improve on my business. So I hope you guys are paying attention to be able to do it for you too. You got a guy who built the biggest real estate company in the world giving you a message, you probably should be paying attention, right? Top agents can easily explain what services they provide to anybody who hires them, right? They know their value proposition. I'm not sure how I can summarize the value that I offer, so I'm gonna have to work on this. This is my objective for before I get to the convention, right? So we're leaving on the 24th. And I want to know my value proposition. I set a deadline. I'm gonna work on this for me, because I just don't have that elevator speech. Right? What is my uniqueness? What do I offer to the clients that is of any value to them? Right? I got a lot of things that I could say, but what should I say? How do I package it in like a sexy advertisement for them? I don't know. I've never thought of it in that context, but this is provoking you to do that, and top agents can easily explain it. I can't easily explain it, so I'm gonna have to work on that, right? How do I say it to my clients? By the way, everybody should be reading The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I mean, yeah, it's an amazing book. Benefits of a value proposition, okay? Helps your clients understand your value and how to back it up. Your expertise, you can show it to them. Number two. All right, enough said. Protect your commission. When I talk to people, James, you talked to me about going on a listing appointment. One of the things I warned James about over the phone, do not tell them how much you charge for commission, right? You haven't had that conversation yet? Okay. When you answer the phone and somebody's like, yeah, you know, so-and-so, give me your name. I'm thinking about listing my house. I just talked to an agent, you know, I want to know how much you think my house is worth. And by the way, what do you charge for your commission? You get asked that all the time on the phone, right? You're probably looking at it. Oh yeah, well listen, I'll get back to you on what time is good for me. And that's the last you hear from them, right? Because if you say, oh, well, I charge 5%, without justifying and them understanding even why, what value are you giving me for? They don't even, consumers are very on the surface, right? They're superficial in a lot of ways. They don't say, well, why 5%? Right? I'd be surprised if a seller came back to me and said, well, why 5%? I just got off the phone with another agent. He's coming over to talk to me, but he said he would charge 4%. Right? I never get that. Right? Because they're not going to ask you that. Oh, 5%? The other guy told me 4%. So are you willing to do it for 4%? I don't answer that question over the phone. Sorry. It's all part of my marketing strategy, right? You want to hear the thing, you have to hear the whole thing. Why I charge what I charge and do what I do. And, you know, give me a chance to come in and explain it to you, and you'll really understand it and get it, right? Protect your commission, be able to justify it before you throw it, how much you charge. That's why it's so easy to get a BDBA signed after I go through and sit with a buyer client and say, well, are you okay? Do you want all this? Do you want to move forward so we can help you through this process? You see how much it involves. You want us to help you along with it? Please. Right? Okay, so now you get what I'm gonna do for you when I tell you how much I charge to give you that kind of service. I don't ever balk at it. Every one of them has signed the BDBA for 2.5%. Right? You have to be able to know your value proposition, be able to convey that, and be able to charge an appropriate amount for that, right? So last year, the beginning of last year, I think it was the beginning of last year, I had the misfortune, and I will publicly say that being recorded, of selling a house for somebody from like 1% Realty Inc. or 3% Realty Inc. on a $600,000 home, and they were offering $3,000 real estate commission. Okay, what do you do in that case? When you're representing a buyer, and do you suck it up and take $3,000 on a $600,000 home? Well, what do you do?
I do is I tell my, these, you know, we could go for this home, but these sellers are expecting you to pay money.
Right. On a $600,000 home, they're offering 3. You know the difference? Around $12,600. Guess how much my buyers dropped off at the office on closing?
$12,600.
plus HST.
For a service that they don't.
I represented them. They knew buying this house, buying any house, was 2.5%. We bought a $600,000 home. Seller was paying $3,000. They paid the difference.
Do you ever write in your offer for the seller to?
Pay the commission at 2.5% every time when they're not. Right? It's all about presenting your buyer designated brokerage agreement, by the way. I laugh because anybody that I sit across that doesn't understand their value, they're the ones that are gonna squeal when they hit section 6 of the BDBA. Remuneration. Ooh, what do I charge? This is the uncomfortable conversation. I fly through that with no problems.
We need a training session on that.
You need to. You need to. This is the training session. Yeah, this is the training session, by the way. This is how do you get what you're asking for? Right? How do you get paid more money than the average real estate agent? If you don't show your value, and you have to show it, you can't just say it. You have to show it. You have to be serious about your business. You have to be committed, investing, and kudos to all of you guys who are here learning. This is the people that can't be bothered, that get up today and want to watch Netflix, that don't learn what you're learning to understand the value you need to bring, because that's going to pad your bank account with extras of thousands of dollars. Right? My clients had a decision to make. Again, fact finding, I could have used them as an example, because man, what an oodle of things we found on the discovery before they put the offer in. I wrote a letter to them on an email. By the way, guys, here's all the information I could discover. I anticipate this is the forever home, right? They value, talked them out of a house brand new in Spryfield to buy a house in Millwood subdivision. I talked them out of it. The father wrote me from Ontario. It's like, what agent talks somebody out of buying a house? Aren't you on commission? Right? By doing that, don't you think they have better appreciation for who I am? Okay, you're gonna hear the word fiduciary. You understand that word? You're the fiduciary? Okay?
Yes.
Right? That's gonna come up. And what that exactly means. And I think I expressed that when I talked them out of buying that house, because I said, I don't believe this is the forever home. And the price that they have on that you're willing to pay, I understand why. But I think in 3 to 5 years, you'll be calling me to sell this, because what you express to me, your needs, is not what this gives you in 3 to 5 years. I don't see this being a home after you have children and you're family planning right now. You're married, or you're getting married, and you're gonna start a family, and what you explained was important in a house, this doesn't have. It's sexy because it's new, and it's available now, but I don't think this is the right choice for you. I said, I can't make that decision, only you can. I'm just trying to tell you what I feel about this, and I don't want. So they went away, and of course he calls his dad, and he's talking and whatever, and then his father gets on me and was like, who talks about buying a house? He said, I really appreciate your profession, whatever. So that went a long way. Does that build strong and trusting relationships?
Which is what it's all about.
100%. They trusted me now. I gave them what they really needed in terms of that value, right? And I now have, you know, I got them into their 20-year home.
Thank you, Jen.
All right, James, have a good day. So I got them into their 20-year home in Millwood. There was a lot of things that we discovered. But before we made the offer, I had to, you know, one of your obligations, what is it, section 6D? You know, you must in writing disclose to your buyer client how much the commission is on the property that they are making the offer on, and you have to disclose that before making the offer. That's what the BDBA says. So of course, here I am, all the fact-finding stuff about this property, and by the way, one of the facts that I did discover, and what I need to explain to you is the commission being paid to me on this deal. Now, if it was 2.5%, hey, good news, the seller's covering all of the commission for you. You won today, right? Some other times it's, sorry, they're paying most of the commission for you. Good news. Don't say, well, they're not. I say, yeah. No, good news, man. They're paying most of the commission for you. You win. Okay? We have to deal with that 0.5% that they're not paying. Right? So do you want to put that in the offer and see if we can negotiate it, see if the seller will pay the extra 5% for you to me? Or would you rather include that in your closing costs, unquote? How hard was that for me to say? You know you're paying it. How do you want it to be paid? Do you want them to pay it, or do you want to pay it?
Right.
Of course I want them to pay it. Well, then we put it in the agreement of purchase and sale, right? Section 7, you always use that section 4, seller agrees to pay the buyer's brokerage 2.5% of the commissions on the sale of the house. Okay, so value proposition, build strong and trusting relationships. I mean,
And that's key to future business too, right?
100%, like I say, over 90% of what I do is repeat and referral business, and there's a reason. I guess people kind of like what I do, or they trust me, or whatever the case is. I show value. Okay, these are value proposition examples. I don't like them as much as I like having gone on websites last night, reading through other real estate agents' propositions, right? I'm not gonna say who, you guys can go out and explore them, but some people that really hit home, like they really know how to write the value proposition to be able to get their message across to the consumer. Where other websites I saw was me, I love me so much, look how great I am.
There's
Right.
a lot of that out there.
Right? There is a ton of that out there.
Yeah.
But who's reading that? The consumer. Well, if you care so much about you, do you really care about me? When I went on to the next page and I was like, whoa, that really had impact. That was memorable to me, right? One of those elements of a value proposition has to be memorable. So it did stick with me. I know what they have in terms of lasting impression, and that some of those value propositions from realtors. So I implore you to go to different real estate websites looking at realtors. Because guess what? Consumers will do that for you. I'm getting random emails saying, Chad, I don't even know if you have a website. I don't rely on that as source of business, right? I should. It's a matter of, expanding and get things put in place. But if somebody's researching you online, which is the first thing that people do, by the way, they want to know, 1, ask for a referral, or 2, go do a Google search. All right. So I mentioned Sandra Pike. Anybody have driven the Bedford Highway lately?
Mhm.
You see a Sandra Pike sign up there anywhere? 5-star rating according to 165 clients. 5-star rating. Does that have an impact and meaning? Somebody's doing something right. So if you Google somebody, right, you want to have that memorable, long-lasting value proposition stuck and embedded in your brain. They've given you these examples. Airbnb. Airbnb exists to create a world where anyone can belong anywhere, providing healthy travel that is local, authentic, diverse, inclusive, and sustainable. They're catering to everybody. But whoever reads that, like inclusive, I like that word, right? I like that word. Sustainable, yeah, maybe. Authentic, diverse, it's going to be different. It's not from the same old, I'm staying at the Days Inn, right? That's the same experience every time, isn't it? Days in, Days in. So Airbnb has created a value proposition to bait in people to use their services and want to work with them. So some of the other things, like the Airbnb to me is the best one of all of these in the example. So I don't really, I don't put a lot of stock into like QuickBooks, sending invoices minutes and get paid 2 days faster. It is a value proposition, but it doesn't really stick with me, right? It doesn't resonate anything of importance to me, right? So QuickBooks could do a better job on a State Farm. Here to help life go right. That's really open for interpretation, whatever that means, right? So that doesn't stick with me. But the Airbnb one does. See how impactful their message is and how memorable and some of those things, right? It's catering to the needs of the clientele. So add that in there. So this is what it's trying to teach you. Take some of these things to implement them while you're considering your value proposition. Okay, connect to your value. This is where I wanted to say, new agents is the one thing I talk about all the time. Hey, W in the market center. What does that mean? In terms of value for you when you're out there talking to 8 clients, potential clients. Cyril, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
A couple of months.
Comes with a lot of experience, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do for me with your 2 months of experience? Okay, I don't want to really put you on the spot.
Okay, no, but I'm gonna be the best agent that I possibly can for you, but here at Keller Williams, we also have a team that works with us in order to help you, get what you want. All right, so.
Bingo. Play to your strengths, okay? You are now part of the world's largest real estate company, right? RE/MAX is, we burst their balloon. And so we have over 200,000 real estate professionals in our organization. Right? We have 300 real estate agents locally out of our market center, our office. Okay, how does that help support your value? So when I always say we, not me, when it comes to that, that is us, right? I don't care. Go door knocking sometime. Do you have a buyer for that particular house? Okay. Angela, do you have any buyers right now for Beachville Estates?
No.
So I want to send you a door knocking and introduce yourself to sellers there and say, we have buyers. Because guess what? You can't say, I have buyers, can you? Honestly, because you don't, but we do, don't we? We have 300 agents and we have a big bank of qualified buyers here at Keller Williams. That makes a big difference. Your value has just changed. Knock, knock, knock. I got no buyers, but will you sell your house?
Funny you bring that up. I was lying in bed last night and I was thinking,
Yeah.
boring life. I was thinking about door knocking and you hear of agents go say, I have a buyer that's looking to buy in this neighborhood who's been selling. And I'm going, that's so wrong. It's so misleading. But that one word
We,
made it okay.
yeah.
It's not funny.
And let's be honest, there's nobody bigger than this whole office together. Not one person. It doesn't matter who it is. It's not the OP, it's not the ownership, it's not the team leader, it's all of us. We make one big organism, let's say. This is the team, right? And so play to your strengths. What does Keller Williams International offer you in support and training, education, technology advantages? Play to your strengths, incorporate that into your value proposition. How does this big ship support me to help you as the client, right? Think of those things. Your market center specifically, okay? Us being supported by ease of paperwork. I mean, we take the burden of all this paperwork in real estate and we manage all this for you. Thank God for the team of administrators at KW Select Realty. God bless them all. I mean, I love nothing more when they're recognized. Because man, what a team we have to support us here at this office. From, I'm not gonna, all of them. You can't discredit any because they all work hard to support us, ultimately creating that value for our clients, right? So play to the strengths of the market center. The fiduciary, there's that word. What does that mean exactly? What is the fiduciary? Okay, if you go and you look up the definition of fiduciary, okay, you're in a position of acting on behalf of somebody else. Your fiduciary responsibility is to always act in their best interests, period. That is the summary of fiduciary. Acting in someone's best interest, not your own, above your own. That's one of your fiduciary obligations, right? So yes, we have agency obligations, but we also have fiduciary responsibilities, fiduciary obligations to our clients. For you to be the fiduciary is the expert, acting in the best interest of the client. If you don't know what you're doing, are you acting in the best interest of your client? Yeah. When you sell way outside your marketplace, and this is a bee in my bonnet, everybody, when you sell in your outside of your marketplace, are you acting in the best interests of your client? Are you upholding your fiduciary responsibilities to that client? I say no. However, everybody has to value their own approach to real estate. And, you know, if you can justify selling outside your marketplace, knowing that you can protect your client, then go do it. If you can absolutely protect them and have their best interests and uphold their best interests while you're guiding them through that transaction, you're better than I am, but if you can do it, good for you.
But what if you're new and you don't have that market center yet? So I have some clients right now that are they're looking anywhere from HRM to Kentville.
Right.
I don't want to necessarily give them to somebody else.
Hey, David James, are you listening? Hey, Travis Mesher, are you guys listening? Tammy?
We're here.
Oh, David James, that boy, that boy. So that's my approach. Thank you, David. Was that you, David?
Why, yes, it was.
Oh, you're awesome. You're awesome. So David and I did a transaction together. He referred me the client. He graciously accepted 25% of the commission on it. Thank you, David, for that. They were happy, I think. So we were able to work together on that. David lives down in just beyond Kentville. He was like, I'm not comfortable coming up and dealing in the condo market in Halifax. Obviously, I'm out of my depth. So he referred them to me and I helped them to buy a condo, right? And that's the reciprocity because, you know, maybe somebody that's going down to the valley, I'm like, hey, David, you're my man, right? you referred to me, now I have the obligation, the ethic of reciprocity makes me feel like it's got time to send them back, right? So anybody that's going that way, David, you're first on the list. And so that's where I rely on David to know all of the community, important, influencing factors on somebody's decision, right? David lives down in farmland. Do you know how many regulatory, laws and policies they have in place surrounding farmland? I wouldn't even pretend to dive into that, but David's down there immersed in it all, right? Give it to him, right? Now, if you're in the dead center of Kentville or whatever, it might be a different story, but even that, you don't know the local issues. So don't pretend, do what's in the best interest of the client, and don't pretend to be a market experts in places that you don't know about. Going back to, I'm new in real estate, so I'm not a market expert on anything. But for me, I'm constantly being called by people like, hey, Chad, listen, I'm down in like St. Croix, and I don't know how to find the zoning for this property. Well, neither do I, because I don't sell down there. I don't make a habit of it anyway. But to find the resources, I'm creating a whole new business model for a different marketplace that I shouldn't actually be in. Grant Sprague, right? He's going to be teaching tomorrow. Grant lives down in, or lives out in Mount Uniacke. He's closer to St. Croix. He probably is in tune and sells in St. Croix, right? Hey, Grant, I got somebody down there for you. You know, take them and hopefully you can sell them a good place and protect their interests. Be the fiduciary for them.
My first listing,
Down in, where?
I gave it to another agent in
right.
Lunenburg, and we just sold it, and I'll get the referral part of it, but
Right.
I mean, I had been going back and forth there my whole life as a kid, but I still wasn't comfortable to actually try to sell the property in Lunenburg. So I gave it to Al Mosher.
Yeah,
in
Al's a
Lunenburg.
great, yeah, Al's a great agent down there. And we have a whole team of great agents down in South Shore. So refer to them. Now, again, you're new to the real estate business. So you got to play to your strengths. I mean, you're here learning how to create value. All right. If you were on yesterday, I think they recorded yesterday, fact finding for properties, right? That's a way. There's a ton of resources that you can go into and discover a lot of information about a property, right? I talked to you guys yesterday about fact finding when I was flipping through Explore HRM. You come across the county councilor's name. Hey, man, I'm not afraid of calling the local representative that should know everything that's going on, good or bad in the community. Give them a ring. Hey, listen, I'm new to this area. I'm new to real estate, and nice to meet you. But I want to help them buy in this particular area of wherever. And I just need to know that I'm making the right decision by helping them buy in this particular area. And I need to know if there are any community issues that might adversely or positively affect my client's decision. Can you talk to me a little bit about what you know might happen? Some of these community things, all right? Reach out and do your due diligence of discovery. So yes, you can involve yourself in a marketplace and get familiar with it. Again, you're plugged into 300 agents. Give a phone call. You think I would hesitate by saying, hey, Sheila Rayfuse, I'm selling a property in Middle Sackville. I don't really venture out there, but I know you kicked ass out there for a long time. Can I ask you, if somebody buys a property on whatever street, what do you think about that decision? Do you think there's anything I should be worried about? Chad, telling you right now, it's going to be infrastructure hell for the next 5 years. They're going to hate it living there for the next 5 years because of growing pains. They're going to double the size of the roadway. They're putting in all new ditches and sewer and water lines, and there's going to be traffic backup for days. And I didn't know that. Thank you, Sheila. I really appreciate that. So you can call on the people in your brokerage, right? That's how you eventually evolve into somebody that is a market expert. Okay. There are activities, by the way, that hopefully we'll cover here shortly about what it takes to be a market expert beyond what I just explained. Okay, so that's what we just talked about. I don't like this fiduciary explanation. I can point you to reputable resources for service providers such as Handyman, window washers, tax associates. I don't like that as being the fiduciary. Yes, you kind of are a resource, and you can link a lot of people, especially when they're reputable and worth referring. You just don't throw a name. I think the Real Estate Commission has actually taken that one to task. Don't give a name of somebody that you've never worked with. You've never worked with them. How do you know? Well, the friend of a friend. Well, not a reliable source, I don't think, right? Market expert, I can sell you, price your home and sell it because I'm very in tune your market at the moment, right? Or always. I live here, breathe here. Sorry, did I just skip? Yeah, I skipped over it. Okay, Keller Williams with knowledge and experience of nearly 200,000 agents worldwide. I mean, that's a powerful statement in itself. Purpose and goals for real estate. You have to understand, for buyers, their goal is to find the right house at the best price, at the right time, with the least number of problems. I don't like that word. The least number of problems. It's almost alarming and
Well, it almost sounds like you're setting yourself up for problems.
yeah, maybe, right, maybe, all right? So kind of identifying the needs. So when you're talking about special needs of the client, identifying with their special needs, that's one of those things you might want to bear in mind, right? When you're trying to attract buyers, right? So you might want to throw some of that language into your value proposition. Okay, throw that language into your value proposition. For sellers, their goal is to nest the most amount of money in the shortest period of time with the least amount of challenges. Okay? Put that in your value proposition, right? When you're speaking to your buyers and your sellers, that's your value proposition that they're looking for, right? Okay, there we go. Okay. Top 10 service areas of a buyer valuation position or proposition, sorry. Okay, needs analysis. What do you need in a home? Your non-negotiables. If it doesn't have it, I can't buy it. Okay, pre-qualification or pre-approval. I like pre-approval, not pre-qualification. Okay, you know the difference. Neighborhood information, right? They need to know what's in the neighborhood for that raise my family. Good schools, not good schools, shopping, medical center, whatever. Home search, right? You're going to help them with the home search. All of this stuff should be in your buyer package, by the way, when you say, this is all we're going to do for you. You know, the home search, where do you find a home, right? Sometimes homes are not on the market, but we know them. Matter of fact, I just put an exclusive listing agreement together last night of an agent that called me and said, hey, Chad, listen, I got somebody that's interested in making an offer on a property that you know the seller of. So I called the seller, said, yeah. So we are looking at doing an exclusive deal on it. Okay. So the home search, where are the properties found, right? A lot of people default to Viewpoint. I never refer anybody to Viewpoint, not ever, not once. I spent tens of thousands of dollars in my career developing an MLS system. Why would I then go and push them off to another brokerage, right? How to make an offer, right? An effective offer, helping with them to negotiate the conditions of the offer, negotiating to buy, price, terms, and conditions. Vendor coordination. That means, you know, you don't have to call the seller to get in there to do the inspection. We'll do that for you, right? Through their agent or directly through the seller, right? We're helping you. Because not every seller has an agent, right? There's private sellers out there that you can still help people buy, right? You can represent the buyer and the seller's on their own. They chose to go without agency. So you coordinate everything with the seller. Pre-close preparations, right? Nothing more important than reminding a buyer, hey, you got to show up at the lawyer and sign some paperwork, you know, a few days before closing. Hey, did you remember to connect? You know how many people, when I say, did you remember to connect or to transfer the Nova Scotia Power Service? They're like, oh my God, didn't even think of that, right? Did you remember to put the insurance policy in place before the day of closing, right? All those kind of pre-close preparations. And then when you close the property, what you have to do, you know, go and do the pre-closing walkthrough and, you know, make sure that everything is good and whatever, and help them to close it. And then post-closing activities, make sure that they've got their information that they need, like manuals and stuff for their house, whatever, like keys to the mailbox, making sure they're settled in okay, whatever, right? Whatever your post-closing activities are. Right? That's part of what the buyers are looking for value. Right, that whole flow. Now it's going on to sellers. What do the sellers need? Obviously, needs analysis. Why are you selling? Where are you going? You know, where are you going? That's the biggest thing in this market. You sell, great, but where are you going to go? Right? There's a housing shortage, so you better know where you're going. So it's a needs analysis. When do you need to be there? When do you need to be sold? Right? Are there any special circumstances surrounding you being able to sell this house? Like, you know, when can you show the property? Right? Well, I have Home Care Nova Scotia coming in once a week on Tuesday, so I can't show the property. I don't. Pricing strategy, help our clients decide on the right price and pricing strategy. How to prepare the property for sale, right? Do's and don'ts, what you should invest your money in. You know, don't finish your basement as opposed to renovating your kitchen. Basements you're gonna lose money on, right? At least probably 25% of every dollar that you put in, you're gonna get 75 cents back. Right? It's a losing proposition. I'd rather see you spend the money painting, you know, wherever you're gonna have a better net return. You know, staging, all that kind of stuff. Marketing strategy, what are we gonna do? Like, what strategy are we gonna employ here to sell your house, right? And this is where your marketing presentation comes into play, right? Part of my marketing strategy is I want to advertise to every real estate agent out there that might have a buyer for your house. The stronger I market to them, the more chance we are going to get more buyers driven to your door for a higher price. But in order to incentivize them to want to bring their buyers here, we need to reward them by paying them. Let's be fair. They deserve 2.5%, right? Let's incentivize them and excite them, because you know what? Your neighbor down the street that just sold probably could have got a little bit more money if they excited more agents to come and want to sell your house. They were paid 2% to do it. If you pay 2.5%, that's going to mean something to somebody's bottom line, put food on their table. Right? I'm getting an extra 2%. I'm going to work a little harder on this deal, right? I'm going to work harder for you. But if you don't incentivize them, well, maybe that's going to affect your results at the end of the day. I'm sure it will. So the marketing strategy, whatever that looks like. Receiving offers, you know, from other agents, qualifying the offer, knowing what is a good written offer and a poorly written offer. I mean, wow. If you're involved in a lot of transactions, you'll see that a lot. I hate cleaning up and doing housework on other people's offers. They should know their job. A lot of times we're counter offering just to do cleanup, changing things they did wrong on their offers. Negotiating the sale, what price, what terms, what conditions for the seller. You know, actually putting the sold sign up on the property, doing pre-closing preparations. Not if you sold, what are you going to do? Right? You got 6 weeks to close the house. What do you have to do between now and closing? Right? And that's, you know, guiding them through, you know, canceling your insurance. But make sure you don't do that for a few days after the closing date, because if there's trouble on closing and you forgot you canceled the insurance, your house burns down 2 days after closing, but it's not insured because the closing date was pushed for 4 or 5 days, right? So those closing preparations are important to help and create value for your sellers. Post-closing, whatever that looks like when it comes to, hey guys, did you settle in? Want to let you know that there's mail at your former address. What would you like me to do with it? Do you want to come down and pick it up at the office? Can I deliver it to you? Could we throw it in the box and say return to sender if it's a bill? One of those things, right? So that's post-closing. Okay, what most buyers want from their agent. This is tuning in what people are looking for as an agent. Okay, 52%. I want you to find me the right house. That's the most important thing. Finding me the right house is the most important thing. Helping them to negotiate terms of sale comes in at a low 13%, which to me is low. Help with price negotiations. Okay, so the terms actually are more important to a buyer than the sale price or the purchase price. Negotiating the price is less important to buyers statistically, according to this, than helping them negotiate price. Like the price is less important than negotiating the terms, right? And then other things. Now, what that entails, I want to make sure that the client is communicating to me, or my agent communicates to me more frequently. That's important to me. Being accessible to me, that's important to me. So those kind of things fall within that 24% bracket. They're sending me referrals of other service providers. Maybe that's one of the things that they appreciate. Having a handyman on speed dial, maybe having a good lawyer or a mortgage specialist. That's what might fall into that 24% category. Okay, factors buyers value when choosing an agent. About them specifically, that the agent is honest and trustworthy. Right, number one. Okay, other than, the group of all the other things. But the single largest thing that people like about an agent when they choose them is that they make them feel honest, and like it's somebody that they could, that are being honest with them and that they can trust, right? When I talk those young people out of the house, they immediately felt, I can trust him now because he's definitely got my best interests at heart, right? to be able to be honest and truthful with them. I think you're making a bad decision here, right? Especially with sellers, I think you're making a bad decision here by trying to push me to list your house at that price. Because all I can see is you're not gonna have the success you're looking for. If it doesn't matter to you whether you sell or you don't sell, that's another thing. But if it matters that you sell and you get the proper price for your home, then I need to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. So many people that will tell you what you want to hear, because they want to put a sign on your lawn. Not here just to put a sign on somebody else's lawn. I'm here to help you sell your house, not put a sign on your lawn. And there's a difference, because I know if I put my sign on the lawn, you're looking at being able to close on this property and sell your home, right? Because the farm.
Well, it's like what you said about the ones that you talked about the house, right? Like that's showing your value by like. I care about you, not me.
Right.
If I cared about me, we'd already have a sign on the front.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. It's trust and honesty. That's number one in choosing an agent. So maybe, and I did read that, by the way, in one of the agent's value propositions or one of the statements that they've made, right? Trustworthy, honest, and reliable information or service, whatever. Okay, what the seller wants most from their agent: help them price the home competitively. I read by that and saying, oh, the seller wants the agent to come in and tell them the highest possible price. But pricing it competitively is important, right? Too high, you're not competitive. Too low, you're losing money. You just got to get it right. Help the seller market the home to potential buyers. They really want that, right? When they're looking at qualifying you, they're going online and seeing everything that you're doing to help other sellers sell. They're qualifying you based on your marketing efforts, right? Sold sign is the best marketing tool you can have. Help sell the home within a specific time frame, right? That's important to me, because if you've got a house on the market that's like 4 months when everybody's selling them in 4 days, people are going to look at you and say, that guy whose name on the sign doesn't know what he's doing, because everybody else that sold signs, this guy's still plugging away at it, right? Help the seller find ways to fix up the home to sell it for more. All right, they want advice. What do I got to do to get the most amount of money in the least period of time? Right? What do I got to do for that? Right? Okay, when sellers choose their agent, they go by reputation, right? Asking people, what do you think? Sandra posted Google reviews. That's, the reputation is preceding her now. People are saying really good things about Sandra Pike and the group, Pike Group, right? Are they honest and trustworthy? Okay. Agent is a friend or family member. Well, I hate that. I hate that. If I'm not the best person for the job, you should be hiring somebody else. Don't do me favors, right? Because I don't like it when somebody said, well, they feel like they're doing me a favor by calling me to help them sell their house. You're calling me because I'm going to do the best job I can to get you highest level of results, period. Not doing me any favors here, right? If that's what you think, don't give me the job, right? You're not giving me anything. I earn it. I'm going to earn it, right?
The opposite happened yesterday. I was camping like this early last year. The lady told me they decided not to sell for a while, but I've been tripping on her and keeping in contact, showing her the market. Saw her house listed yesterday. I texted her, I said, I just, wanted to reach out, saw your house was listed, hope I didn't do anything to, if there was something I did that, upset you or whatever, just trying to find out, why you didn't choose. She's like, oh, it was my best friend that just got her license and I want to help her out.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, right? That's unfortunate. But anyway, that'll continue to happen, right? 17% of every seller chooses them because they're a family member or there's a friend in real estate. Yeah, right. Hopefully they do the right thing and the person does a great job for them. Right? Choose me on my merits. Technology again, implementing everything KW, and you have specifically in your arsenal of technology to help give that seller an advantage, right? Love drone technology. For me, every listing that I ever put on the market, if at all possible, has a drone, right?
I have a drone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this is an interesting one. 3 steps to define your value proposition. Okay, identify your knowledge base. right? Whatever credentials that you have carrying forward from a past life even, right? You were a developer, you built houses like Paul Pettipaw. He's a great guy. He's retired from being a developer and a contractor, right? He works with our commercial division. Were you a leasing agent in the past? Were you involved in some other capacity in real estate? Were you a property manager? Were you a superintendent for a real estate, for a building, right? Knowing people's needs for housing in a different way, right? So your knowledge, your attitude, your skills, and your beliefs that make you qualified to be a great real estate agent. And all of those are important in their own way. Attitudes. How many people do you meet that have a negative attitude on everything? They're looking at the downside.
Yeah.
I want to be your client. I want to drown myself in the lake if I buy this house after working with you. Right? The attitude, holy smoly, right? Come from a place of positivity, right? I had to have a conversation with the owner of Exit Realty when I was working there. And I said, either the lady at the front changes her attitude or I want you to fire her. Because if you don't, I'm never stepping foot in this office again. I sit in my car and I'm mentally prepared for coming into the office, right? I'm in the people business and I'm here to perform. I want to perform at a high level today. And I'm coming in and I've talked myself into, now I've got the right mindset. I'm opening the door and I'm ready to come in. And I said, every time I come in, the first thing I get is hit with negativity, how overworked she is, how many problems that they're having. Hi, good morning, so-and-so. How are you doing today? Not too good. Why? The photocopier, I can't keep doing this every time I show up at the office. It's very toxic for me now. I'm coming in ready to perform, doing my best so that people on the other side of this phone call feel the energy. And all she did was suck the energy out of me. Right? I just feel like she's a freaking vampire, an energy vampire. I'm walking in and the first thing I do is I have to combat how she made me feel walking in the door. Director of First Impressions is the absolute best name you could ever have for a receptionist. The first impression you come in. And it's important. They train these people. The first thing they do is they lift their head and they smile. Notice that. If Alicia doesn't do that, call her out on it. Of course she does. Of course she does, because she's being trained by a very high-level company to say, it is so important for our guests and our agents to come into the office and feel like they're welcome and it's a positive place to be. Otherwise, nobody wants to be here, right? They'll be at Remax or Royal LePage or wherever else they want to be.
It's easy to say, hi, how are you, right? And that makes people feel way more comfortable.
What does it take to say good morning on your way by the administrators?
Yep.
Hey, thanks, guys, when you're leaving at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Thank you for the support today. They can't wait to get out of bed and come to work the next morning. Somebody appreciates me. Great job, everybody. Little goes a long way sometimes. Okay, your skills, what are you skilled at? What are your, what makes you sharp? What makes you better than a lot of other people? What skills do you possess? I mean, are you very influential? Can you really influence people, right? Do you have that ability? Do you have, if you're in, say, investment properties, do you have an accounting background? That would really help. It's all about numbers, right? So put your skills to work, implement those skills in your belief system. What do you really believe in, right? If somebody really feels your beliefs and they align, then you're immediately going to connect with the client, right? I was explaining some things before, and James, who unfortunately had to leave before now, he stopped me and he said, holy smokes, I wish we could spend some personal time together because what you are teaching me is totally in line with my beliefs. And I'm really happy to have been matched with you as a mentor, right? I was like, well, it's interesting that, that you bring that up, but that's truly how I feel. And that's what I actually believe in. And I stand for what I believe in. And he's like, that makes so much sense to me. And that's the way I feel like I need to practice mine, because he's just getting started. He's less in the real estate industry than you are, Cyril. So that was good to know, right? But when you align with your belief system, that you work hard, you do a great job, you're in it for the results. A lot of people that's a buy-in for a lot of people, a lot of clients who are looking for an agent to represent them. Transform the value to provide and the value of KW and your market center into the beliefs for your clients. Okay? Take your KW values, right? KW is high belief in a win-win situation. You know, kick the crap out of somebody in negotiations. Everybody should win walking away feeling happy. If you don't, well, they don't consider that really to be that successful of a negotiation, right? They're in a win-win. Everybody counts. It's an all-inclusive company, right? Everybody counts, right? So you can use some of that, implement that into your value proposition and build your proposition statement, right? That's the key right now. This is the exercise for today. Now you know the nuts and bolts and kind of the messages behind it all. Go away and assess you. Assess who you are. Assess what business you want to have. Use the keys in the kind of framework that they set out in this course to go away and develop your position, your value proposition, but your position in the real estate market. How do you want people to perceive you? What message do you want to resonate? Right? I'm the guy you can hire that'll take anything for anything and charge you 3.5% to 4% for it, right? You want to resonate that, you're gonna, well, but if you want to resonate a bigger, stronger, more powerful message, sit down and like James has said, how much do you invest? Whatever it takes to invest in time to be able to send the right message, right? That is going to be the most impactful message you can make in probably 3 sentences, 4 sentences, right? Whatever that looks like. So they've given you the tools to do that. Okay. And again, I promise that will definitely translate into more business for more money, right? You won't have to constantly defend your value proposition. Okay. And this is where, so there's an exercise here. I think there's a kind of in this program, stop and build your value proposition, and we're not going to do that. This is homework for you guys, right? This is go away and build your value proposition. For me, I've got a deadline. Before I go away to a family reunion, I'm going to have that in place, right? If you don't set a deadline, hell, I could get to it next year. And I probably would if I didn't set a deadline, right? That's just how I roll. But setting a deadline, when are you going to have your value proposition done, right? What I would recommend is reach out to one another if you want to and work on it together, right? Bounce it off. How do you perceive me? If I said this to you, what do you think about that, right? You know, study buddy, partner, right? Help you create your value proposition. Man, that sounds corny. Okay, thank you for the truth. I choose you as my agent for being honest. But at the end of the day, build your value proposition statement to be able to keep yourself accountable, right? That's that higher standard that you have to keep yourself accountable for. And be that person that can stand behind that statement, right? Put that into practice and be that agent that everybody wants to refer and do business with. Okay. Cool. All right, folks. So we're gonna call it a day. Sorry to overrun, but again, two sessions in one, right? Session 2 and session 3 and 4. So hopefully you guys got some okay and ahas out of it and some valuable approaches to building, knowing what you need to do, what's expected of you to become that area market expert, and translating that into value, right? So, okay, folks, enjoy. So before we go, does anybody want to share anything about anything they learned today or yesterday? Or have any questions about anything going forward before we sign off? I always do this. Last chance for, last call for questions. You must have seen that on Wednesday night, Cyril. Last call for questions, everybody.
Yeah, Chad. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Personally, I just think that your value proposition is probably the biggest key, and that you should write it down and know it. You don't need to bring it, read it to your clients, but be able to relate that to your clients.
100%. Yep, 100%. So people need to know what you stand for and how it's going to help them. Right? That's the overall message.
And I feel like this confidence is something that I struggle. I don't know why, but I just struggle with. And if you build your proposition statement and you read it over and you do it based on your own characteristics, that confidence will come across in your conversation.
Do I sound lack of confidence when I convey anything? No, don't say it like that, Cyril. All right, I'm not overconfident, and I hope I don't come across.
No, not at all.
I hope I don't come across as
No.
arrogant or egotistic.
No, I appreciate the value that you add to
It's
everything.
a parent that you know your stuff.
Right,
It's not an egotistical thing, it's just a, I know this. It
Right.
just comes off that.
right.
As
And so-
opposed to somebody looking at me.
And so the lack of confidence, and that's where I find a lot of people who are in the vanity show are lacking confidence. People who have to brag about what they have, how much money they make, what they look like and all that kind of stuff. That's people who lack self-confidence, unfortunately, right? They need to work on that and build that for them. It's very apparent. Unfortunately, that resonates to the clients. I see that in a lot of cases. You know, but honestly, when you build your value and your knowledge base, and this is what drives me about people that don't show up like you guys have invested today, in learning your job and to do it great, not just, I mean, this company, Keller Williams, does not want you to be an average real estate agent.
No.
If you pay attention to what they are saying, they want you to be exceptional at what you do. And they will give you the tools and the support to do whatever you want to do with this company and this business, right? And they're passionate about it. Like there's so much that they want you to achieve. And so work on that, participate, show up, be engaged, be present when you're present. That all will come. And once you start building that behind you, the confidence will come, right? Again, when people are going through the buyer designated brokerage agreement and they're saying, oh, I charge X amount, the squiggling that goes on, they don't know how to answer that question. They're not confident in themselves yet. They don't know their value. And that's what this is here to build. It's here to build your confidence and your value that you can convey to them without pause or hesitation. Somebody asks me, what are you worth? Okay, worth a whole lot more, but I'll settle for 5%. Right?
Yeah.
Whatever. So I think that's an important thing to recognize. And when you come across with confidence, especially if you are absolutely, if you're coming across with conviction, you totally believe lock, stock, and barrel in anything, no matter what it is, you have a better chance of convincing other people to do whatever, right? Jump off the cliff with me. It's okay. Right? And I'll tell you, there's people that I've said that. If they're going off the cliff, I'm going with them.
Right.
Why? Because I know that there's a safeguard below, right? I trust them that much, right? If they're going, I'm going too. We're gonna get through this. All right, any other questions before we sign off, folks?
Yeah, Chad.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Iris, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, talk about self-confidence and who you gonna meet as a client. So I just have a question, like I feel it's kind of difficult for you to discuss and to present when you meet with newcomers, like who they got just got a PR or some has the right to buy the new house, but they are newcomers. They have kind of experience back to their home country. So normally I find it's quite different rules or how we conduct in real estate industry. So that's why it's really difficult to to convince them to believe here is you need to find like every realtors are different, and how important for you to buy a house and to find a right realtor for you to get your right house. For me it's difficult to convince them and to this kind of point of let them understand the importance. So I'm not sure anybody here like has this kind of experience before, and do you have any like smart idea to share with?
So I can't relate to somebody that's new to Canada because I'm born and raised here, but I know that you're coming from a different ethnic background, and I know that you're coming from a different business culture. Your belief systems might be different from ours in the way we practice business, right? And so there is a bit of a cultural clash when it comes into, integration, right? How do those two business philosophies collide sometimes, and how do you integrate different belief systems where you know, where you came from versus what you might be walking into. But I think, Gary Keller, and maybe I skipped over it, but I think it's the Real Millionaire Real Estate book. He said if it's worked somewhere else, it'll work here too. Right? It's one of those things. I mean, if it works here, it'll work in China, it'll work in India, it'll work wherever, right? Because a lot of people, oh, that doesn't work here in Halifax. That might work in the States, but it doesn't work here. People are not like that here. They don't, okay, BS, that's just excuses, limiting beliefs, right? I think you need to be able to control your businesses, to sit down and get down to what you learned early about the grassroots. I don't care where you're from. If you have a heart to heart with people and get down to the real meaning of why they're doing what they're doing, you'll get through to them, right? And you'll be able to get through them and communicate effectively, and probably gain a lot of respect from that particular meeting, right? And be able to show why you are different, no matter who they are, why you're different, to be able to help them with their needs in real estate, as opposed to going with somebody that really doesn't have their best interest in mind.
Yeah. Because I during this training, I was talking with a client, but she told me she signed several documents with an agent when they actually offered on a property, but they failed. And I asked her, do you remember, and have you signed the buyer designated brokerage agreement? She can't remember. She just said she signed several documents, but don't know, what are those documents. So this is the point I heard actually several times. And for me, I always emphasize each of the document and what are they talking about. I think the way you can show your difference, but I just find it's not like appreciated by every client. But I think maybe this is just a reality you need to accept. So yeah, just raise up this.
Right? Focus on the people that do appreciate it. Don't focus on the people that don't. You may never get through to people that just don't have an appreciation for good values and good services. Right?
Yeah.
So be hold fast to you and how you do business. Convey your value proposition, and you'll get through to people, I promise.
Yeah. Okay. And can I have another question? Maybe it's if the answer is kind of long, can I maybe send you an email, and maybe you can give me some inspiration?
Let's do that, because people want to get going. I've got an appointment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it's going to be something else, maybe send me the message and I'll do my best to help you out with it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chad. Yeah, it's a valuable session. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Thanks, guys. All right. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
There you go. So they're really.
You were great, Chad.
They're condensing so much into each session.
It's hard to get through it all. You feel rushed because of what people have questions, what if they have a comment? Like, you have to get through it all. And
Well, the thing is, they didn't want to spread it out so that they finish Ignite at the end of the summer, right?
It's true.
So they're pushing everybody to condense it into having 2 sessions in one. Again, it doesn't give you time to stop, answer questions, share more.
It is a lot of info.
It is,
Sure.
yeah.
Anyway, we got through it.
You did a good job.
Yeah, great job. The thing for me is I just, I want to absorb as much as I can.
Yeah.
Because I really have no idea what I'm doing.
And
You know
there's
what I mean? Like,
There's definitely a lot to it. There's no question.
this is nowhere near what I used to do previously. Well, although dealing with people, that was what I did. I'm extremely comfortable with that. And I have a great connection base too, which